Welcome to the Tuesday, March 3, 2026 Urbandale City Council meeting. I will call the meeting to order, please, and call the meeting to order and ask Nicole to take roll call, please.
Bodie?
Here.
Cacciatore?
Here.
Carberry Montgomery?
Here.
Kroll? Here. Rosendahl?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we pause to orient ourselves to be the kind of civic life we are here to practice. Civility, as we understand it, is not politeness, etiquette, or agreement. It's an inner disposition rooted in recognizing the equal human dignity of every person present, including those with whom we sharply disagree. Each of us is responsible for how we speak, how we listen, and how we conduct ourselves. We're not responsible for controlling one another's views, reactions, or conclusions. This space belongs to all of us. We will speak honestly, refrain from demeaning or coercing one another, and remain present even when the conversation is difficult. By holding one another in view as persons rather than obstacles, we sustain the trust that makes shared civic life possible in Urbandale tonight and beyond. Item 2 is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote.
We missed it.
Vote vertically.
It's working. It's working.
It's working?
Well, it's not pivoting, but
That passes. All right, next we have two very special presentations. First, a proclamation for Employee Appreciation Day. Whereas the City of Urbandale is served each day by a team of dedicated employees whose professionalism, passion, and commitment contribute immeasurably to the quality of life enjoyed by our residents. And whereas the services provided by our employees, from public safety and infrastructure to parks, libraries, administrative support, and beyond, promote the health, safety, and well-being of our entire community. And whereas the success of our local government depends on the tireless efforts of our employees who work collaboratively with integrity and excellence to fulfill the mission of the City of Urbandale. And whereas Employee Appreciation Day provides an opportunity to publicly recognize and celebrate the invaluable contributions and achievements of our workforce, strengthening a culture of respect, teamwork, and pride in public service. And whereas acknowledging our employees' accomplishments reaffirms that their work does not go unnoticed by the City Council and the citizens that we serve. Now therefore, I, Robert Andovic, Mayor of the City of Urbandale, on behalf of the Urbandale City Council, do hereby proclaim Friday, March 6, 2026 as Employee Appreciation Day in the City of Urbandale. I encourage all residents and community partners to join in recognizing the contributions of our valued city employees and to express gratitude for the integral role that they play in making Urbandale a vibrant and thriving community to live and work. And I'm proud to sign that. I'd ask Dustin Creech to come up to accept this on behalf of the committee.
sorry.
You're getting to be old.
Thank you very much.
We don't.
Before 8 o'clock. I don't see that ever.
You say anything on behalf of the committee?
That'd be great. Thank you very much. Awesome. Thank you very much. The Employee Ambassador Committee thanks you, Mr. Mayor, and the City Council members for recognizing the great work and dedication of the City of Urbandale's employees through Employee Appreciation Day. Your acknowledgement highlights city staff's commitment to proudly serving our community. It is with much appreciation that we accept this proclamation. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, Dustin. Thank you to our employees. And I do want to note for the record, I normally have Nicole and Angie write those proclamations. I did write that one myself. So.
Well, I appreciate them so much, I showed up last week.
That's right. But we are going to have an event this Friday to celebrate our employees. So thanks again to all our employees. All right, next is a proclamation for National Women's History Month. Whereas the month of March is designated as National Women's History Month, a time to celebrate and honor the countless contributions of women throughout history. And whereas the 2026 national theme, Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future, expands our understanding of sustainability beyond environmental stewardship to include financial sustainability, community resilience, leadership succession, and intergenerational equity. And whereas women across our nation, state, and the city of Urbandale continue to shape strong and resilient communities by developing innovative solutions, advancing opportunity, strengthening civic life, and supporting systems that benefit both present and future generations. And whereas we acknowledge and honor the women who have helped guide the growth and progress of our community through civic leadership and public service, including former Urbandale City Council members Veda Wilson, Elizabeth Williamson, Eileen Lemon, Miriam Klein, Marilyn Cole Morgan, Susan Siepke, and Mary Polson, as well as current council members Bridget Carberry Montgomery, Amy Kroll, and Pat Bodie, whose leadership continues to strengthen our community's future. Now therefore, I, Robert Andeweg, Mayor of the City of Urbandale, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2026 as National Women's History Month in Urbandale. Let's celebrate the achievements of women, past and present, and strive to create a future where equality and inclusivity thrive in every aspect of our community. I'm happy to sign this. I'm going to ask a former elected official from Urbandale, Judy Downs, to come up and receive this on behalf of Dress for Success.
It's fun being on this side. It's more fun being on this side. I want to thank everyone here, Mayor Andeweg and the City Council, Pat Bodie, Amy Kroll, Bridget. I call her Bridget because I've been an advocate for women in elected office in Urbandale in our community for longer than I've been in this position. So it's a beautiful position to be on this side, seeing this amazing council. So thank you so much. Thank you for recognizing the importance of women's history in our community. Dress for Success Des Moines is a nonprofit proud to be in Urbandale, and I'm proud to lead it as an Urbandale resident and the mother to second-generation Urbandale residents. And this is so important to us because the specific focus this year, Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future, is directly connected to our mission at Dress for Success of Des Moines. And our mission is to empower women towards economic mobility through career support services, workplace attire, and providing a community of support. We work in Urbandale to serve approximately 450 women annually from Central Iowa on their journey, whether they're coming out of abusive situations, unemployment, incarceration, or simply a change of career. Maybe they've been home with kids and now they're ready to get back to work. We're here for them on their journey. We don't stop once they get a job. We're here to hold their hands and support them until they have reached their definition of success. So it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be in the great community of Urbandale, and thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Judy. Thank you again for everything you've done for our community, and thank you for what you do for Dress for Success, so thank you. All right, we'll move on to Citizens Forum. This is the opportunity to address the council on something that's not a part of tonight's agenda. Would anyone like to address the council this time? All right, seeing none, then we move on. Item 5, the adoption of the minutes, first from the February 17 meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Kroll.
Second.
Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. And then the February 23 meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Kroll.
Second.
Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 6 is the consent agenda. There are 14 items for approval.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Motion by Kroll.
Second.
Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. You voted no?
I sent a note out about it. Maybe I didn't press send on my note.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Did you want to pull one off?
Yeah, I'd wanted to pull off 610.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's maybe for the best. Let's move on.
All right. Move on to public hearings. Item 7.1 is a public hearing to consider the Hilton property amendment to the comprehensive plan and rezoning
If I
from
didn't
A1
press send.
Agricultural Reserve District to the PUD Planned Unit Development District at 184th Street and Meredith Drive. The public notice for this was published in the February 17, 2026 Des Moines Register. And is there any objections to that? Notice is published.
There were none.
Is there a motion to open this public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. And to introduce this is our Assistant Director of Community Development, Christy Bales. Christy?
Thank you. The first hearing before you this evening, we are out at the western edge of the city limits at 184th Street and Meredith Drive. So, sorry, we have a new mouse and I'm getting used to it. There we go. We're going to be talking this evening about this parcel and this parcel to the north of it. It totals about 77 acres, so we are at the northeast corner of Meredith and 184th. Across the street, across to the west, is the city of Waukee, and Waukee's at the northwest corner and the southwest corner, and then across Meredith to the south is the city of Clive. So we have three cities coming together at this intersection. I'm going to start with the aerial photo just to orient you a little bit. We had some recent conversations about a preliminary plat here north. I'm going to turn on the preliminary plat layer. You can see the red lines that are showing how different developments are out here in this western area. So we're west of 170th Street, and you can see the intentions of platting and where we are that way. Then next, I'm going to flip over to the last page of the PUD master plan that was included in your packet. So before you this evening is a request to amend the zoning, or to change the zoning from A1 to PUD, the planned unit development. And with that, we've worked with the development group to prepare a PUD master plan. The PUD master plan, in addition to some overall requirements for things such as development-related stormwater detention, cross-access, a landscape buffer along Meredith Drive and 184th Street. Then we broke that PUD master plan down into 4 parcels of kind of groupings of uses. And we're going to talk about this quite a bit this evening. The future, this includes not only the rezoning, but an amendment to the comprehensive plan. The future land use plan, and I'll show you that as well, designates this area as local commercial, which is that reddish color, as mixed residential, and then as some single family. And there's one amendment that we're going to talk about in a little bit that's related here along the Meredith Drive frontage. But this is what is shown for the most part. That pale yellow is the single family, and then the orange is mixed residential, and then local commercial. And their master plan that they've prepared for the most part reflects that. The master plan, as I noted, breaks this down into 4 parcels. Parcel A is designated here at the corner where that local commercial is. The development group has asked for that to have commercial set of uses in addition to some potential for multifamily on the second story of some commercial buildings. Parcel B, which is next, about 15 acres to the east, you can see they've requested to have a mix of commercial or multifamily residential or single family attached, so those are the townhomes in this area. But they've also included a small part of parcel B here at the very north, and it says approximately 300 feet to be single family. So in parcel B, what they've talked about as multifamily though, the commercial part would not be a standalone building, it would be part of a mixed use building. And that's where the comp plan amendment is really here on parcel B, is that mixed use designation. And I'd kind of put those descriptions in your staff report. I can talk about them in more detail, but that's really where that talks about the mixed uses in the same building. Then they have parcel C designated, approximately 25 acres. They'd like it to be considered for multifamily or townhome development or possibly single family. While they have shared a concept plan with staff on how that might all be laid out, that's not part of the consideration tonight. It's more about, are these groupings of uses appropriate in this arrangement as they shift from kind of the commercial at the front corridor and then to less dense? So then we work up to parcel D, which is the single family, about 28 acres, developed in really with the same guidelines that the Biltmore West development is done, which is adjacent to the east. So right next door, those single family houses north of Sharon Drive have minimum 65-foot wide lots, the typical 30-foot rear yard, 30-foot front yard, and 5-yard setbacks. So they want to kind of try to match up that parcel D to what's been platted there. They know to include things that if the zoning is improved, they will figure out street connections that are extended, where you can see Hickory Drive is stubbed to this, Sharon Drive is stubbed to this, and Goodman Drive is stubbed to this. Also, that development to the north includes a stub to come into parcel D as well as part of the public street system that eventually gets to 184th Street. Meredith Drive is 2-lane asphalt. While it is on the CIP radar screen, it has not been widened to that typical cross-section. It's currently scheduled for the year 2030. With this development, they'll be required to dedicate the right-of-way and temporary construction easements to accommodate that widening. 184th Street is gravel. It will stay gravel in the foreseeable future. It is in an out year currently in the CIP. So that's not within the 5-year range of the CIP planning, but it's certainly a project that is identified. Remember, both of those streets we share with other cities, so we get to figure out cost sharing and timing and all of that as well as we think forward. I'm going to go back to, just stay here. The rezoning, staff looked at it, talked about it. We actually had this, the development group was considering this about 4 years ago and paused. 4 years ago, we were in the days of COVID. They were working on Biltmore West, and so this concept got paused. And they've kind of refined it a little bit since then. So we're bringing this to you. Staff feels that the change to PUD, this mix of housing types, appears to be reasonable, appears to be consistent with the goals of our comprehensive plan. It puts those denser uses on the arterial street frontage systems and then transitions back to match up single family to single family both on the north and northeast corners. Sanitary sewer extensions will be provided. Water will be provided. It's a little bit different out here in that we'll have a conversation with both Xenia and Des Moines Waterworks. Xenia has a water pit in the corner and Des Moines Waterworks is involved, but when we get to preliminary plat, we'll have those conversations. Also in the PUD master plan, we talk about parkland. Their concept plan included dedication of a park in the single family area. We'll get those details figured out at time of preliminary plat, but you'll recall there is a parkland dedication requirement for residential components. So once we know what the residential arrangement is, we'll get that figured out. A couple of things that we don't typically do, so I wanted to highlight. There were a couple of questions in the Planning and Zoning Commission where if you read that set of minutes, you heard me say, I don't know, but I'll follow up. Those are added at the end. One was just an update on the city of Waukee, like what they had done to kind of be at this corner. So each of the 3 cities have a commercial designation, then transition out to some townhomes or multi-family, basically not just single family development. And then there was a question of what was this designated in the prior comprehensive plan. You'll recall the Forward Urbandale plan was adopted in December of 2023. So we're just about 2.5 years in. Since we knew about this project, it's why we had that conversation with the consultants at the time. Not only in this project, we knew what Waukee and Clive were considering, so included that update with the commercial and mixed residential when we were talking about the future land use plan. So that was 2 updates. I did want to note too, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the rezoning. They made a note to include the dry basin on parcel B, and I'm gonna flip back over to the aerial for a second. Clearly design isn't finished, but you'll see there are some sizable, and this middle one even has a dam system with it. There are a couple of sizable, there's a lot of water running through here. So as they look and consider how that will lay out, there's likely a basin, a detention basin somewhere in this area that will get refined as we talk about engineering and what the final layout and that sort of thing is. But when the Planning and Zoning Commission made their motion, they did include, ask to have the dry basin included in parcel B, sort of in this area near the single family. But because we don't have the design, we don't know exactly what that size is. That phrase was not included in the PUD master plan because it was part of their recommendation, but certainly we'd look to you to include it in your recommendation if you want to include that. The other thing is, then their second vote, also by 6-0, was recommending approval of the comprehensive plan change to add that CO zoning type of uses on that parcel B. The CO type of uses, you'll recall, are the office service district. So this is your banks, insurance, medical, real estate, that type of offices. This is not your nail salon, your yoga studio, a retail, that sort of thing. So the CO is the least dense, least intense type of commercial uses, and that's what the PUD has been written for parcel B, that at the max it would be the office category of uses. So I wanted to note that as well. Staff recommended approval of both the amendment to the comprehensive plan and the PUD master plan. Tonight, the development group here, Brent Culp is here from Snyder, Dustin Jones, Jason DeGraff are here from the development group to answer any questions you may have. I know there are some citizens here who spoke at P&Z who probably want to ask questions and participate as well.
Okay.
So I'll take any questions you may have before I turn it over.
All right, thank you, Christie. Any questions from the council for Christie at this time?
I guess can you put the aerial back up?
I can.
And can you go out just a little bit? I want to, so the green space in the Clive, on the south side of Clive, is there room for them to do anything, or is that for the road?
For Clive to develop?
Yeah.
You mean, yeah, they plan on about 6 acres of commercial. Our PUD has about 7, and then they're planning, make sure I got it. It's either, I think it's townhouse development there on that eastern 9 acres, right here.
So where is if we're doing our traditional 4-lane divided, which I'm assuming we will do, where's that land coming from? Clive or Urbandale or both?
Oh, sure. It'll come from, I think Clive might have their part based on the line work, but Urbandale this development will need to dedicate right-of-way. And I'll start with, you can see right here how this line changes, where they dedicated the right-of-way, so that will be done on the north side of Meredith. And then behind that will be, usually it's 40, sometimes 50-foot temporary construction easement for the widening that expires once we widen the road, but is there temporarily so that we don't have any structures, no fences put on that. In fact, we'll have them do the berm for the residential, like you can see kind of this hump and bump here, but we don't have them plant the trees that are required to be planted until after the road is widened, because we don't want to go fight the trees and take people's trees and drive up the cost. So they'll be required to grade the berm where the residential uses are on the 2 arterials, and then dedicate that right-of-way for our part of the widening, our north half of the widening.
So the white line on the Clive side, is that what they have reserved for the right-of-way? Yeah, where your hand is.
I hate to speak to that. This is the line work coming into us, and so I don't know that I want to commit to that on the record. It's what we have so far, so I don't know if that developer has dedicated the right-of-way or not.
Thank you.
Yeah,
mentioned
Christie,
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
the property is currently owned by Biltmore West.
Yes.
Okay, is there a rough idea of their horizon for development pursuant to the PUD master plan?
I don't know the timing. They have indicated they want to start at the north with the single family, but that's a good timing question that you can ask them. I would assume that if this is approved, they'll come back with a preliminary plat that you'll see on how they're going to carve it up and meet those conditions of the PUD master plan. And then I would expect them to phase it both in terms of construction and plating.
How's our coordination with Clive and Waukee work for improving these roads? Has Waukee talked to us about paving 184th Street, and has Clive talked to us about widening Meredith?
All right, so it's probably easiest for me to answer that. Meredith, we're in discussions with Clive. The biggest holdup on any reconstruction on Meredith is their detour as they reconstruct Alice's Road to the south. So we can't do anything until they're done, as this being the detour route. That's why I currently have it in the 2030 timeframe. But as we get closer and see when their stuff will finish, we'll see what it changes with us. And then on 184th, I have talked to Waukee, and it's not on their horizon to do any kind of paving, just like it's really not on ours. And I'd say it's not uncommon to have a development start with a gravel road next to it. We have that currently on 142nd Street, north of Waterford Road. We're just gonna do the asphalt this year. There's been development going on for quite some time. I can tell you previously, 142nd Street south of Waterford was gravel for quite a while before we did the asphalt work there as well. So, and again, depending on how they develop, you know, as they get up into here, they'll be able to connect in if they need to, come on down to Meredith as well. And then just to throw in there, we do have an agreement with Dallas County on the maintenance of 184th Street as well.
Yeah, thank you. I am concerned about traffic in that corridor as these developments progress, and I assume that we can always look at bumping up those improvements in the CIP in later years. So, anyway, that's my thought.
As these get developed out, like I'm assuming it's going to be just each piece of it gets developed, like you were saying, kind of north to south in theory. Are those through roads like planned out as part of the preliminary plat, or is that the final plat that we get those connections put together?
You will see those connections at the time of preliminary plat.
Okay.
Because we want to see them not only for the roads, but sanitary sewer and water, the utility stuff is important.
Gotcha.
And that's where we also want the right-of-way dedication and the easements getting pretty close to being laid out as well.
And would you anticipate there's three or four roads, like would you anticipate all of those continuing through, or is some of them just going to terminate midway through?
I would anticipate, I'm gonna flip screens. I don't believe Goodman will go all the way through, because I don't think they'll put that straight through the commercial area. To kind of, Bridget didn't quite go there, I thought she was going to, on the spacing of the streets. So what they've tried to do with that first 7 acres on parcel A is put it at the 600 feet mark, east of 184th Street. That's your first full movement access point. And then because of the spacing of where 179th is across from the street in Clive, there will be a right in, right out, kind of mid-block about right here, but there's not enough space to put in a second 600 foot. It doesn't meet the 1,200 foot full to full. So they're planning at least a right in, right out. It'll be broken by a median, so you can't cross over, but that's what they're planning on the spacing.
Gotcha. And is that commercial? I'm assuming they're, like, we got Goodman here, and you were saying they're probably not planning to go all the way through. Is that there's a nice little dirt roundabout or something on the map I saw? Is that kind of the idea? Is that it would just kind of terminate?
I think Goodman will come into parcel B and then go straight down to both Meredith and possibly like the internal street that breaks A and B apart, but I don't think it'll go clear across to A.
Got it. Okay.
And then to answer the rest of your question, I think Sharon Drive will follow this dashed line that you see here. So it'll go through, but not in a straight shot. And then I think that we will see another public street come down and around that follows that south part of C. That puts the separation between the commercial and the residential, whatever it is, on parcel C. So it kind of carves off that parcel A with some street networks.
Gotcha. And the idea of A and B, where B is the kind of pure commercial office versus A has commercial office and some more retail uses, like that's kind of the easing of uses in that way.
It is, yes, thank you for pointing that out. So parcel A would have not only the office use of the CO zone district, but then the typical neighborhood commercial. So it could include a convenience store, it could include retail, all those things you'd normally see in the neighborhood commercial level.
Gotcha.
Just real quick, I'm getting some texts from a couple people who are trying to tune. Okay, you're working on it. All right, thanks.
Someone named Rob.
Teams.
All right, any further questions for Christie at this time before we move into the public hearing?
David, I don't know, did you want me to do my quick recap of my call with John, or is that when you?
That's up to you, Blake.
Oh, okay.
Based on the level of conversation that you had.
Yeah, no. I had we all got an email from John Fortunato. I had a phone call with him just to kind of talk through, he had questions about the property and how it, what the process is and how that all works. So I kind of talked through and like pulled up the comprehensive plan and said, well, it's local commercial and this and that, but there's obviously other steps in the process that we'll need to go through too. I kind of pointed to some other areas that are kind of similar in this kind of staging as well on the comprehensive plan, just to kind of give him an idea of what was in the future potentially. Obviously, this is all process in that. And then obviously we got him connected with David to get some more resources too. So
I don't know if maybe he's heard, I don't know if he's.
Well, as long as we're making confessions, I talked to him today as well, briefly, and it was similar. And told me he was free to, come and speak to us this evening. Didn't make any sort of commitments about, how I would vote. Explained that there'd be a public hearing and we'd hear the public and then we'd make a decision. So he did express opposition, but was hoping that maybe there are ways that we could improve upon the plan that's here. But I'll leave that to him to make those suggestions.
Well, we are in public hearing. Let's get to the public hearing and allow for comments on this. So if there are folks both for and against, I'm going to allow the developer first to speak and then also come back afterwards as well, since they're the applicant on this. So Brent, do you or your client want to make a presentation now, or? Okay.
Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, my name is Brent Culp. I'm with Snyder and Associates at 2727 Southwest Snyder Boulevard in Ankeny, Iowa, representing Biltmore West LLC for the Hilton property rezoning. As Christie had said, both Dustin and Jones and Jason DeGraff representing Biltmore West are in the audience that can answer any developer questions. Kind of to get into this a little bit, I mean, we're currently A1. Christie did a great job on all the detail that we've worked on since 2021, I think is when we started on this. That's when my original project number is. So we've looked at it, 2021 things were kind of upside down, so it didn't really get moving until 23, 24, and then had a lot of thought, had a lot of meetings with staff, had a lot of meetings with the developers. So what we really kind of worked on, I guess this isn't up here, but yeah, you're correct. The wavy lines for the different parcels was the center line of the public roadways is what we looked at. So starting based off of the comprehensive plan, that provided us a lot of guidance, as well as what's happening to the south in Clive and to the west in Waukee, to have a neighborhood commercial type of use at that corner. Ice cream shops, more of a retail possibility. And sandwich shops, anybody? No, okay.
Just ice cream.
Okay, so, things like that has more people kind of coming to that, larger, more activity. And then between that to the east would be kind of a multi-family type of development with a professional office. I think I'm like my Farm Bureau agent, my Walnut Creek Dentistry, Edward Jones Guy, that kind of, where, there's not much traffic, but it still provides a service to the neighborhood and to the region itself. And then part of that, in that area, we kind of looked at doing single family up where Sharon would come. Where Sharon comes through, we kind of looked at an area where.
Get that back up.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that, so. Looks good, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not you, okay, yeah. Up to the north, and there's a concession we made with the P&Z, with the neighborhood, I'll talk about that later as well. But then parcel C is kind of a lot of access or additional access off 184th, kind of a private access, or potentially townhomes, multifamily, and then we could foresee some single family also fronting the streets along there as well. And then as we transition into parcel D, about 28 acres. Currently, what we're looking at is about 4 acres of park. What we kind of found out in this is that when we did Biltmore West, plats 1, 2, and 3, we kind of didn't really include a park in there, kind of a neighborhood park. So this one's kind of making up for that and provide access. It also provides access to the north, Bentley Ridge West with the trail access, and it also allows the sewer to come up from Bentley Ridge West as well. So that's kind of our thought process, a lot of guidance from the Urbandale, the Forward Urbandale Comp Plan, the land use designations that Christy had once shown in that as well. So her presentation took a lot of thunder out of mine because it covered everything. So I won't drag this on, but like I said, on that parcel B, we kind of made a concession that against the rear of the parcels to the east, the single family to the east, that we wouldn't put any multifamily buildings. It would be open space. We'd probably bring the single family down a little bit, but it'd be open space, and this would be for the multifamily buildings. And it would be a stormwater detention basin, wet bottom or dry bottom, that hasn't been determined. One thing about a wet bottom, advantages is it works good for our stormwater management system for water quality, but we want to make sure there's usually a 20-to-1 ratio where you want 20 acres going into a 1 acre of surface water to make it a viable water body. So, and that we just don't know yet, once we get into the detail, there's a very detailed process for a preliminary plat. We'll know that, and it, water body provides quite an amenity for the area as well. So, I mean, that's kind of what we would strive for. And then the open space that goes then to the west is where that water would eventually go to. So, like I said, that's one of the concessions that we presented at planning and zoning, where there wouldn't be any, at the rear yards, there wouldn't be any multifamily buildings at all. So with that, the P&Z provided us a 6-to-1 approval of it. It was unanimous approval. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Dustin and Jason are also with me as well.
All right, thank you, Brent. Any questions for Brent or?
I guess I have a couple that you guys can maybe tag team on. So what you just talked about the concessions that you made during the Plan and Zoning Commission, where are those immortalized, Christy, or are they?
Nope, you're good. I put that's what it is. I put the reference to the dry basin in parcel B in the motion from the Planning and Zoning Commission, so on that first page. It does not reference like all of the rear yards because I wasn't sure if we knew how far all that design was yet, but yeah. Sure.
That has the lot numbers and everything.
So the morning after the meeting, we talked about if a multifamily residential use is, so the motions were already made. If a multifamily residential use is proposed, no multifamily residential building will be situated immediately adjacent to the rear yards of Biltmore West. I'm gonna flip over to the aerial for a second so that we can see. Biltmore West, Plat 1, 48 through 53, which would be these lower ones, and then lots 6 through 10 of Plat 2, which would be these upper ones. So basically the single-family lots that back up south of Sharon is where they were committing to no multifamily. So multifamily, the apartment buildings being in this area. So
What about down by Goodman?
those are the side yards, and that same commitment has not been made in terms of that commitment. We've talked about a landscape setback, and that is in the PUD master plan. For that section, the maximum height of the building is 4 stories. We've talked about if they do a 4-story building, it has a 100-foot setback. If they do a shorter 3-story building, it has a lesser 75-foot setback. And the landscape setbacks are in that section of the PUD master plan. So taller building, bigger setback. It's the same thing we did for the Line 7 apartments at 142nd and Waterford. And we've done it before, that's just the more recent example. So we, that same commitment was not made here at the south along Goodman for a couple of reasons. Goodman's got to come through and connect. And that design's not been done. And so we don't know how this corner really finishes quite yet.
Okay. And my other question was related to the parkland. I mean, we know it's going to be like an actual park, not like a financial contribution.
Yeah, we're planning on actual park.
Okay.
And like I said, we've seen the concept plan initially and talked about that a little bit with the Parks Department. When we get to preliminary plat, that will go through the Parks and Rec Commission, and that will show on the preliminary plat.
And is that in the north, going to be in the north
single-family area.
section?
Yep.
Okay. That's it for me, for now.
And you didn't ask, but I'll add this too. Since we're talking about parkland, let me turn on a different layer here. So that red line layer that we talked about, when we did the Bentley Ridge West development here to the north, this triangular-ish piece here is part of their parkland dedication for the Bentley Ridge development. So that's parkland. When they did the preliminary plat, we had them grade and show where a trail will follow the sanitary sewer line. And so it will come down. And so that's what Brent had referenced, is that trail, making sure we can make a connection from that trail to the parkland. So it'll likely weave between some houses to get to kind of a more central parkland. So we're trying to connect those dots a little bit.
Great, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
And I'm very much pro ice cream, just to clarify my thumbs up.
Me
'cause,
too, me too.
I mean, the first person that develops that is going to get all my money.
All right, anything further, Brent, from you? at this
No, I'd
time?
be happy if there's
Okay.
anything else.
Anything further?
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Chris indicated that you'd probably start with parcel D, is that correct?
Probably the single family, I think that's the hottest market right now.
Okay. Do you have a timeline and sequence in mind for this?
Immediately starting the design, but I mean, it's a multiple month process to get through the preliminary plat and construction drawings. And the developers will probably hang me if I don't say we'll get going this year, by the end of the year, grading. But in practicality, that's a pretty tight timeline.
So are we looking at, getting to parcels A and B, in out years? I mean,
100% market driven.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my experience is, especially on that commercial area, you gotta get the rooftops. And, I've seen commercial, being up from Ankeny, Polk City area. I finally got back to a commercial property I did for Hunziker 20 years ago. And it sat there empty for 20 years. And, that was pretty far into town, too. So I would see that would be the slower of the two. It usually is.
Okay.
But 100% market driven. I'm sorry.
No, you gave me a rough idea, and I appreciate that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
All right, we are in public hearing. Would anyone like to address this item? If you can, please come up and just give your name and address.
Hello. My name is Catherine Greenfield, and I live at 4624 179th Street. And if Christy can help me zoom in on the map, you will see that my husband has maintained a very nice green yard when you look at the map down here. So we are on that green portion right there that would back up to. And my concern and looking at the PUD exhibits after the zoning commission meeting is that that concession is not immortalized anywhere in the actual PUD document. And I would ask if it's a proposal or a rejection until that's actually immortalized in the PUD document to either be single-family homes or a water retention thing of some sort. You'll notice that all the other single-family home lots that have been sold in this entire neighborhood will back up to other single-family homes except for those 6 lots below Sharon Drive. And that amendment to the PUD would at least save our 6 lots from being uniquely disadvantaged in this PUD process. So that would be my comment for this hearing.
All right, thank you.
Christy, I guess that was the intent of my question, was that that discussion was
Yeah, let's.
immortalized in a document somewhere that we
Right.
would be able to make sure it happens.
No problem. We put it in where it says the motion, but we did not put it in the document yet because it felt a little more fluid than maybe what I interpreted it as. So any motion that you consider after we take in the testimony from other people, we can work on that language.
And we're just doing the first reading tonight anyway, so we can kind of,
Right.
we can also firm that up as,
Fair point.
We get to the second and
As you
third reading.
refine it for the second and third readings, yes.
okay.
Because I want to make sure that that is taken or made sure it happens.
Yes, sir. Please give your name and address.
Well, I've mentioned earlier, so you're probably thinking, oh my God, he showed up. John Fortunato, 4645 180th Street. So Joe, Blake, thank you for taking the phone call. And I disturbed your work schedule and your home schedule, so I apologize. So while I explain to these two gentlemen, I'm adamantly opposed to the project. I also don't want to be pulverized. So my coming tonight is to say maybe we can make modifications and improvements to this. All I ask is that you view this through the prism of us. They came into this neighborhood. We did from out of state, and I just came from a town that went from 20,000 to 146,000. Okay, why? Value of homes upheld, good schools, etc., good communities. So while I'm surrounded by absolute chaos in that area with dump trucks and lumber literally every day since I moved in, chaos is good, but also has to have the right path. So I ask that you view the prism of us. We want to maintain the value of our home, and there's some parts of this project that concern me. So traffic was mentioned in the zoning meeting. It is an enormous issue because Biltmore West is earmarked where I am for 200 homes. We're not anywhere near that. So the growth is going to go further out, so all this construction, et cetera, is going to keep multiplying through the years. Coupled with, I go through that 184 non-paved road, I see it twice a day, and you literally, like this morning, see cars covered in enough dust where they should go directly to the car wash. What's my point? All that traffic then is going to move through our development, whether it be Sharon, potentially Goodman, Hickory, et cetera. So parcels A, C, and D could be coming through our neighborhood, so I think this traffic will increase tenfold, if not more, as this project matures. Also, by the way, I don't expect to discuss this tonight. I'll just give you some ideas. I'm sure you're going to be taking all this and delving deeply. I don't want to get into the weeds on the parcels. There's a lot of kids in our area. I got 2 grandkids why I moved here. Very, very concerned about with all this traffic. Maybe think about an entrance off of Meredith to go into parcels A and B. Again, an idea. I don't know this area. Again, food for thought. The parcels. I just mentioned the view of our perspective, value of homes. For example, maybe What is uphill value development? I came from single-family homes, backing up to single-family homes, them selling, upholding the value. We all bought, and we talked about this in the zoning meeting, we didn't buy these homes, and I would say it's a princely sum in that area, to be staring at the back of a Dunkin' Donuts or a gas station or Bob's Dental, okay? Also, what it's historically shown statistically in real estate from Maine to California is when you are backing up to apartments, the value of your home will go down. Now, there's aberrations to that. Yes, I'm giving you national statistics coast to coast. Concerned about that. So, for example, parcel B, if my math is right, it could be 360 units, 24 units per acre times 15 acres at 4 stories high. Maybe, parcel B, which is commercial multifamily on the opposite side of, say, Warrior Lane on A. Food for thought. Maybe it logistically can't be done. Again, these are ideas. D, you want to start on D, be with single-family homes. Maybe part of D could be moved into C and B, so it goes back to my point on single-family homes, staring at single-family homes. Again, our view. Parcel B and C is earmarked for 860 units. Wow, right? See my point? You mentioned a park. I won't get into that because I think it was mentioned for 4 acres. We pay a fee every year so they could clean the little lake near us. And if I went there, the authorities would come take us away because I'm in someone's backyard. We pay for nothing. So a bike path park would be great. The buffer, regardless of the modifications, there's a very nice fence not too far from there, say at Alice's in Berkshire, as an example, maybe a buffer. So if we are going to stare at the back of Bob's Dental, we have either some very large pine trees to stare at and or a nice wall, like to give you an example that I pass multiple times a day, Alice's in Berkshire. The last thing I'm going to say, I want to state for the record, I mean, this is not being accusatory or anyone's responsible for this, but again, put yourself in my shoes. I move here. I'm told, don't water your lawn, don't drink the water. I got all this going on, and then the February 17th article for the Des Moines Register. We could debate whether you think it's accurate or not. The point, it's public information. If I was talking to a realtor, I would say, whoa, what's going on here? So here's why I bring this up. The cancer rate for the 2 zip codes. Now, if you mail me a letter to my house, you could put Urbandale, Waukee, or those 2 zip codes. I live apparently on the 38th parallel. I will get both of those pieces of mail. That's not a joke, it's true. So we have the highest rate of breast cancer in the state, 100 times higher than, say, Fort Dodge, as an example. There's 2 scientists quoting the article from the University of Iowa. I talked to one of them yesterday. Yes, the point of the thing was that you used to get information at the county level, but then you'd be like in your town, go, what about me? And then it's to the analytic level. But part B of this is going to be what I asked him, the soil. And he said, yes, that's part B of this. So again, we talk value of our homes. Has this soil been tested? You guys have tremendous growth plans for this. I know it's not your issue, and except the state has to get involved, but you have more power than I do in reaching somebody at the state level. Okay, they're going to ignore me. So it's a big issue. I'm sure you didn't want the fanfare, but it's a massive concern in that area as a new homeowner. So thank you again for taking my call, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Fortunato. And for the record, I'm going to address this later on, the cancer issue later. There is some countervailing information. In fact, I just had.
But it's out there.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else like to address the council on this item? Brent, do you have anything you want to wrap up with before I close the public hearing, since you're the applicant?
I think we're fine, thank you.
Okay. All right. So seeing nothing else, there's a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Carberry Montgomery, second by Rosendahl.
Second.
Discussion. Please vote. That passes. All right, well, you've obviously heard a number of comments tonight. There are 2 items for consideration. You can either consider them, or I'll open it up for discussion at this point, so.
I guess I'm always partial, to making sure we listen and have an opportunity to hear from neighbors. And I appreciate that you all have showed up, and I just want to make sure that their concerns are being included. I mean, I feel like what we're being given is so preliminary. It's hard to feel confident that what gets developed, and especially if we're starting at the top and working our way south, are any of us going to be here to make sure that this happens? Because these homes are still, going to be here in this, already developed parcel to the east. So I want more confidence, I guess, that what their concerns that they've articulated, which I think are valid, are able to be concrete in 15 years when we're all retired. Maybe not Bob, though.
Well, again, Chris, I guess I'll ask a question, Christie. Do we have enough? I mean, again, we're at the comprehensive plan amendment and the reading and the rezoning. Do we have enough in there that? I mean, a lot of this is going to happen at the site plan stage and the plat stage. So, but do we have enough? Are you confident we have enough detail in there now, based on what the council's heard tonight, and what? And maybe we should articulate what concerns we still have and make sure that they are in any approvals. And we still have 2 more readings that we can ask questions and fine tune this if we need to.
So I think 2 things. One, you beat me to part of it is, I think the first part, Catherine Greenfield, who talked, if someone were to make a motion for approval to the PUD master plan, I would encourage you to include language that talks about and includes that language in parcel B section of the PUD master plan. And then what I will commit to doing is making sure that before you have the second reading, we get that language into the PUD master plan, so that before you're having a second vote on that, if you want to go that far, assuming you want to go that far with the first reading tonight, and you can talk about if you want to consider something else. But I would anticipate, based on what I've heard, is someone's motion to include that provision where single family either backs up to single family north of this drainage basin and really that string of single family lots, or it's basin. It's either single family back to back, or it's basin that backs up to the single family. So I would include that as part of your motion for parcel B, and then we'll get that language kind of polished before you get to a second reading. Beyond that, I haven't heard enough other direction of what you would want to include in a motion, so you would need to be more clear in that discussion, specifically some of the stuff Mr. Fortunato talked about. I'm not sure if you want to take anything and include it in a motion, or how you'd want to process that part of the presentation.
So I think, so the idea here would be the 6, 8, or whatever, because like that section that's spelled out at the north section of parcel B that says 300 feet of single family, like that would in theory extend down as part of a motion in that way.
What I'm hearing, and I'm going to look a little bit, is that area that extends down to about right here would either be single family or the basin.
You need to put the map back on.
sorry.
We need to do that right here.
Is this 300-foot line, so single family is 6 single families where they kind of started, but what I'm hearing is that if no multifamily would be put in that area is what I'm hearing. So it'd be single family, but it could be townhouses, or it could be a basin kind of anywhere north of here. So I don't want to discount the townhouse area north of that, but that's kind of what I'm hearing backing up to the single-family houses in Biltmore West. So it could be single-family, it could be a dry basin, or it could be townhomes, but they're committing to it not being multifamily.
Gotcha. So it'd be the idea is that there's not kind of single family and then just height, right?
Yes, in that area.
In that area specifically. Got
Chrissy,
it.
can you scooch this map up just a little bit?
I
And
can-
back it out a little bit too.
Yep.
So this large parcel, right where it says 179th to the west there,
This,
yeah. Why, is that intentionally not have houses, or why is it so big, or?
sure.
What's going on
Correct. It doesn't have houses and it won't have houses. That's owned by the Owners Association, and you can see the storm and sanitary easements that run through there as part of their detention conveyance system, essentially.
So it's okay that we're only going down to the
16.
16?
Yep.
Okay.
That's why that's being proposed, is that no multifamily would be in that area. That's kind of a natural stop.
And then we think Goodman is gonna continue, and we're okay with those uses there? I mean, or those people just didn't care enough to come to the meeting? I don't know.
I don't know that they don't care. I wouldn't say that. I don't know that we've heard from them, but a couple of things. Goodman, we don't know how it's going to necessarily be developed. If you talk about Goodman being extended through here and eventually having to turn south and somewhere and go to Meredith, and I guess I'm making a shape here. What we have committed to in the PUD master plan is the landscape buffer between any multifamily, including any apartment or any garage buildings, having that wider landscape buffer to this single family. So where it could have been, 8 foot to 8 foot side yard to side yard, we're putting in a larger landscape buffer
Okay.
to give some separation to that.
I'm just going to comment that my reaction to this when I saw it was that to change this zoning to PUD felt to me like what we were dealing with right now was such a broad-based concept, and that the word P, as in plan, was not yet applicable. And what I'm kind of hearing here is us trying to figure out, how's this going to pan out? How's this going to work? Can we make this happen? And I'm uncomfortable moving forward with this at this conceptual a stage, because we've got folks here who have concerns about traffic, they've got concerns about where the roads are going to be, they've got concerns about what's their side yard going to look like, what their backyard's going to look like, and I feel like this is just a little premature. And I would love to see more information about all of those different things before we committed to this kind of change. That's my comment.
Out of curiosity, what needs to happen in order for the site plans to move forward? Like, does this need to pass in order for them to continue to move forward, or?
Yeah, so this would, the zoning question is, is this an appropriate, reasonable expectation of how land uses could be arranged on this? Is single family appropriate here? Is multifamily appropriate here? Is commercial appropriate here? Then once they get that direction from council, they will come with a preliminary plat and show how it's going to be subdivided. They will come with a site plan for the commercial areas, a site plan for the multifamily, a site plan for the townhomes, to show you how it will be parceled off. In our PUD master plans, it's fairly typical to show kind of the larger groupings of uses. So when we did Mallard Prairie here to the east, you can see how there are townhomes, there are some smaller single-family lots, there are duplexes, there are single-family. When they did that PUD master plan, they said, we're gonna have a box of townhouses here, We're gonna have a box of smaller single-family lots here. So that's, the boxes and the groupings are what we also had when we talked about Bentley Bridge here to the north. So when that developer came through, they said, we're gonna approximate this much area as commercial, we're gonna approximate this much area as multifamily, we're gonna approximate this much area as single family, and some townhomes were as designated. So they didn't show like how the roads and the sewer and that sort of thing were gonna lay out, but what they did show was the land uses so that the PUD master plan could be said, okay, well, if you have commercial here, here's how you're gonna develop it, here are the uses. If you have multifamily, here's the density, here are the setbacks. They didn't get to really even a concept plan level. They kind of knew, they'd done enough work to know how the streets were likely gonna lay out and where those natural breaks were between the different land uses, but they did not get down to a level, and typically don't for a PUD master plan of, here's where that exact street's gonna go. Or this is where the basin is.
And there will be multiple moments where we can weigh back in as that site plan develops,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Yeah, there will be a few. You'll have one overall preliminary plat, because we want to see how the 77 acres lays out. So that will be your preliminary plat stage, and then depending on how they do site plans or final plats, you will see each of those. So there will be more than two. I would rather say a few than multiple. And they won't be public hearings. They will be, presented to you, and while people can comment, they're not technically public hearings again after the rezoning.
And they're not notified.
Correct.
Because I mean, what you described over at Mallard Prairie, like with some, boxes, I don't feel like we have those for this.
I would agree with that. We need a strip of a box that says what that's going to be over on the east side.
And that's fine. I would say, because we were asked this question, we actually went back and looked at those, and I would say you've been given the 4 boxes. This plan has 4 boxes. And
Yeah,
it's
but-
okay if we disagree.
Yeah,
But
but
I did go back and look because we had advance notice on a question, so.
Yeah, I asked the question, but we have 4 boxes, but inside those boxes are a lot of options.
There are multiple options. They've written it to have kind of some, maybe one, so they don't have to come back every time a housing product changes or that sort of thing. They have written themselves with some options. If you're not comfortable having that many options, this is where you say X is not appropriate, or we don't like the way it's written for parcel whatever. But I would present to you, we have boxes. There are multiple options in those boxes.
Right.
But that's because they're not ready to say, here's exactly what we're going to do.
And some of that's going to be market-driven as well, as far as
Absolutely.
how that works, so if it's a multi-year project, so.
Yeah, I think like I'm going to be watching from a preliminary plat perspective, I think, with this, because, yeah, it lays out some of the spirit of it, but as said, I don't know if we'll be able to speak to the exact, kind of the more particular details until we get that plat structure, because then we can say, well, what's this lot, where's this lot in particular, what's it doing, where is it setting back at, and things like that too, so.
The default is no notice, but we can certainly condition notice as well to an area too, can't we?
Yeah, could we add that into the mix? And we can certainly do something where we're talking about the eastern border of this property, where we would immortalize, to use Bridget's term, some level of meaningful buffer. Maybe that's helpful.
Well, at site plan stage, we would have some say-so over things like height and density.
Actually, that's at this stage. The height
Okay.
and density are written into that PUD master plan in the different parcel areas.
Well, the amendment would allow for certain heights and densities, but you're saying that if someone came to us within those parameters, we couldn't alter it.
Yes. I'm saying you're setting those now with
Gotcha.
this document. Mm-hmm.
The developer could still have something that doesn't go to the maximum parameters.
Yes, this sets, depending on which, it either sets the minimums or the maximums. So for example, it sets a maximum density in multifamily, a maximum building height. If they said, the market's 2-story instead of 4, you were gonna let us have 4 in a PUD master plan, but we're coming with a 2-story. Anything less than a maximum, you'd still see, but it's still within that parameter, so it'd still be okay. If you approved 4 stories and they're like, we've got a great idea for a 6-story, you would be having a public hearing all over again because you set that maximum of 4 in this PUD master plan, and they're changing that parameter, so we'd re-notify.
Got it. I'd be in favor of public notice at future stages.
I would like to know if we're talking about public notice, what precedent we're setting to,
Oh, that's the other trade-off too. I think that's why
Yeah.
Christie's maybe I should.
I would be curious. I would be curious because we do a lot of. What this would be at a preliminary plat level of where that theoretical notice would occur, right?
Yeah, that's the next step essentially, so.
Okay. I would just want to keep that in mind. Not that I love the idea of making sure people are tuned into what's happening around them, but at the same time want to make sure that we don't set a precedent for one thing that we're not comfortable with carrying
Well,
through on future projects too.
That's the flip side to it, Blake, is,
Yeah.
Is how often, and then what do you do in the future? Because that's, the default is no notice of that. But certainly, the practice has been that we try to get as much information out as possible, and also allow people to even comment, even though it may not be a public hearing. So.
Can we do anything with the language that would encourage some level of consideration for the parkland, the trail, the detention area to skew to the eastern side of this piece, at least on the southern section, so that we are starting to help them think about a really sufficient level of buffering, if you will, or distancing. And certainly we know that if we're concerned about property values, parks add to property value, not detract. So that if that were an interlude, a break in the action. I mean, we can't sit here and design it for them, but I am a little uncomfortable that one of the boxes that goes all the way to the edge has a whole lot of options in it.
I think what you can do is, if you feel that the landscape buffer should be increased along that eastern, if it goes multifamily, if you feel that that landscape buffer is insufficient, I think for the detention area, the water goes.
Yeah, the
where
water
it
goes where
has
the water
to,
goes.
and that
Right.
sort of thing.
Nobody knows that better than I do.
I think what you could think about is if you want to, if it's a townhouse or a multifamily development, what amenities would you want to see for those residents, or have some sort of consideration for that, where it's specifically for, making sure like they have an amenity that you might want to consider. For the parkland, we know where the trail connection's going to be, and I guess I've kind of seen where they're thinking about putting it sort of interior to the single family as a neighborhood park. So I don't know. You can certainly encourage, but there are actually some numbers if you wanted, and some specific things that I think you could consider if you're like, I'm not quite comfortable yet. And I guess too, if you're not ready to make a motion, you have closed the public hearing, but if you want some more detail, if you want staff to research, if you want some more information from the developer, you could pause on the first reading if you're really not comfortable and don't feel you have enough, and we should get you some more stuff. So that's also in your list of options.
And we have two other readings too, where we can put, if any additions or changes, we can take actions as well. So I feel like
Correct.
from my seat on the bus, I think this probably covers a spirit of what needs to be kind of put in place. I'd be looking for preliminary plat to kind of see what really comes into picture more clearly. I think like that backyard to backyard thing makes sense to me.
I would tend to agree. I think we have enough to continue to move forward. Not entirely comfortable.
Yeah.
However, recognizing that in order to get to that preliminary plat, we have to move past this point.
Yeah.
And we have 3 readings.
Yeah.
I guess I would like to include language regarding future notifications. I am okay with any notification precedents that we are setting, because I love public notice, so.
Well, and I'd like to have some language that speaks in this motion to the idea that there's significant, substantial buffering recognition of this piece on the southeast half of the deal.
And
I don't know exactly how to word it.
Well, and I think, is there a difference between when we make a motion, because we could make a motion about backyard buffering connection, because we seem fairly clean on that. And then is it part of the motion where we are requesting additional information for future second, third, whatever, reading consideration?
Yeah. Yeah.
Maria, any red flags?
So council can certainly hold public hearings on subsequent readings of the ordinance. I don't think there's any procedural problem with that. The procedural concern I have with requiring notifications concerning site plan is simply that it would essentially be amending an ordinance by that motion, which you can't do. So your ordinance currently does not provide for that notice. You would need to in my view, you'd need to amend that ordinance to make that change legally occur.
And I feel like that, like, is there a mechanism right now similar to how we you can subscribe for meetings and things like that to be notified of like a meeting is coming up? Is there a way that folks can subscribe to basically say like, oh, a preliminary plat is put on the agenda or something like that, basically to say like, if there's something very specific that folks want to follow or a type of topic that they want to follow, is that something that we're capable of providing as kind of like an opt-in, I wouldn't think?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
At that level of detail, I don't think so. We could certainly look at that, but I wouldn't want to promise, because just my background on that has been when we've tried to do those kinds of things, we find out the technology may or may not allow for it. And so I think we need to, whatever we do here today, we need to under promise and over deliver and not the opposite. That's my concern with that.
I would add, Blake, that you can follow the Planning and Zoning Commission agendas and notices, and when we do those, we try to either put addresses or street intersections. So P&Z agenda said 184th Street at Meredith. So you can opt in to follow those, and we try to put on what's on next week's agenda and then what's coming up 2 weeks after that, just to give people a heads up. So we do that for the agenda, but I don't know that we have the capability to follow a specific case number through.
Gotcha. Well, and not necessarily like a specific case, but just like spirit of like preliminary plats or this. Okay. And these would come through P&Z, if I recall correctly, right?
Yes.
The site plans and the preliminaries and the finals and things like that too. Okay.
Could we get some help with a motion that would address the immortalization of what we've talked about on the East Piece and also speaks to whatever it was you had said, Blake, that you wanted? Buffering.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, though, we do need a motion and.
Oh, to close the public hearing?
Well, no, we already did that,
Oh,
to
sorry.
amend the comprehensive plan, so.
Oh, motion to.
I guess I would like to know what what our motion is gonna say before I vote on anything, like even the comprehensive plan change. I'd like to figure this out before we do any voting. Because I'm still like slightly unclear what it's gonna say, but I bet you've written something down, Blake.
I've got some scribbled notes, but
So if that's okay with you, Bob.
No, well, I mean, it's.
No, I just wanna know what,
I guess, Blake, if you want to say what you would craft as a motion, and then.
well, and this was more for the PUD stuff. So like in the amendment to the comprehensive plan, is that immortalizing kind of the spirit of what's in the PUD, or is that just like saying
That's,
zoning?
it's only to declare that this area is going to be a PUD, I think, right? Christie is,
Because if it's just going to be a PUD, like if the comp plan just says it's going to be a PUD, I think that makes sense. We can
Right.
vote on
Yeah,
that.
I'm fine with that.
Sorry, somewhere my staff report is walked off and it's out here. So not quite. It's not quite like we're amending the comprehensive plan to be a PUD. Because most of the site is compliant with the comprehensive plan. So it's really about introducing that mixed-use component on parcel B where the commercial can be in the multi-use building. Otherwise, they show mixed residential where it shows on the comp plan. They show local commercial where it shows on the comp plan. They show single family in boxy steps kind of there. So it's really just adding mixed use as a land use designation in that parcel B area.
So the motion, so,
So you could, sorry.
no, go ahead.
So your motion could be to amend the comprehensive plan to allow commercial uses on parcel B with the rest of it in conformance with the comp plan. Or you could say, your motion could be you are amending it to follow the designated land uses of that last page of the PUD master plan that allows for all of the mixes, might be a better motion. But it's not amending the comprehensive plan to rezone it to PUD. It's a little more complicated.
Okay. So it's really, it's specific to parcel B.
It really is.
Okay.
Yep.
And at a comp plan level, we really just need to say that parcel B would be allowing mixed use. Because then PUD is really coming in and saying, this is the specifics, we're gonna do this here, and we're gonna set back here, and things like that. Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm so confused. Are we going to end up with two motions? One about parcel B being allowed for these commercial uses, and then another one related to this
backyard.
concept.
Well, we do comp plan amendment to say that B can be mixed use.
Okay.
And then we have like the whole motion for, let's talk about the PUD and what is all of the details
That's what
on
I'm
that.
trying to
Yeah,
understand.
I think
Perfect.
that's,
Okay.
so I guess if everybody's comfortable. Motion to approve the amendment to the comprehensive plan where parcel B is mixed use.
okay, motion by Rosendahl.
I don't want to second it.
I'll second it.
Second by Kroll. She got first. Any further discussion on that? If not, then please vote. That passes.
Okay. So then, for our second motion here. So it seemed like everybody was very comfortable with the idea of having the single use or single family or basin or townhouse be part of those backyard connections. Feels,
Or buffer. I mean,
well, for the backyard part, yeah.
yeah, or park, or,
Because park would be part of
park or trail. or
D.
Greenish.
Hmm?
Green.
Hang on just a second. I need to borrow that paper.
I just,
Bit like basin or open space,
yeah.
something.
If I can help.
Yeah, you
With,
probably can.
I'm gonna have you consider, if a multifamily residential use is on parcel B, no multifamily residential building will be situated basically to the rear of those single-family lots. So then you don't have to, then it could be single-family, could be townhouses, could be open space, it could be detention. Let's just, It's really about the multifamily. So if multifamily goes on B, no multifamily residential building will be situated adjacent to the rear yards. And I think that's a simpler motion than maybe what's being kicked around.
Also move.
Well, so I think there was,
Oh, we got more?
we've got follow-up things that we had questions about, right? And is that, I'm assuming that's part of the motion, but not part of the PUD? Right, because there was talk of notification and there was,
Oh, I don't think we're doing the notification
We're not-
piece.
no, okay.
Notification's
We
not
can't,
allowed.
we, yeah.
Sweet.
Notification wasn't allowed.
The dry pit to parcel B, do we need to add that in?
No.
Okay.
I think that if you go with this other language, you don't have to worry about that part.
Perfect.
It's one of the options, but it's not.
Nicole, is there a way that you can put something that you're typing up on the screen for us to look at? Or maybe what you're interpreting from what Blake is saying?
I thought Pat was actually making the motion.
I think Pat made the motion.
Or-
Well, I was just making the motion, she said, but
Yes.
I do have an addition to that in the sense that I do think we were seeking additional information, particularly related to traffic, roads, some of the different things that Mr. Fortunato brought up. We would maybe need some additional information over time.
But
Sooner-
that wouldn't necessarily be part of the
Part of the zone.
motion, of
That-
the zoning, because that's, again, we're doing the first reading, and we can express the information that you want separately that we
Okay,
can get before the
Let's
next
do that.
meeting.
great.
Right, Christine,
Yeah, I'm not
Do you
sure about
mind?
that traffic one. Usually a project like this wouldn't rate the level of traffic study. So, and it's hard, they haven't locked in on which uses they're going to, and they're probably not going to in the next 2 weeks. So I don't know that you're going to have a traffic study.
Well, I'm not thinking
because-
traffic study per se, but it would be nice to have some understanding of what's happened elsewhere, maybe? Is there something we could get to give us a better idea of to what level that's a concern?
Probably at some point, probably not with the zoning at the second
The
and third reading
development.
level.
Okay.
With the development. When the property develops is typically
Yeah.
when we look at those things.
If everything comes in multifamily, then we'll have a different conversation than if some of it's single-family or townhouses, or what density they landed on, kind of thing.
Okay.
So I can bring the text over. It's a little ugly. And I can certainly read it aloud if you'd like.
So it ended, or the new stuff is starting with including?
Yes.
Okay.
And it is a little bit awkward, so.
but it is our first reading, so.
So I'm wondering if we need something right after rear yards, and name the subdivision to the east?
Well, I think that would cover, I think the rear yards part, I think that kind of covers
But what we're,
rear
And
yards.
rear
I-
yards
yep.
in A?
I think you
or-
can start with just the rear yards, and then we'll put the lot numbers at your second reading and just be a little bit more specific about that.
Okay.
To your motion.
I'll move this.
I'll second.
By Bodie, second by Rosendahl. Any further discussion? Not, then please vote. That passes. All right. Again, thank you, everybody, for participating tonight. I know it's long and drug out. Again, this is the first reading. If you have any comments or anything, please email us or call us, or we'll talk to you if we need to get further information out to folks before the second and third reading. That's why they have 3 readings. It's an opportunity to take a deep dive and make sure we're doing the right thing. So thank you, everybody, for participating. So thank you. All right, we will move on to public hearing for item 7.2, and that's a public hearing for consider the conveyance of real property at 5172nd Street. The public notice for this was published in the February 13, 2026 Des Moines Register. Ask any objections to that notice is published.
There were none.
Motion to open this public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes, and introduces our city manager, David Jones. David?
Thank you. This public hearing is required by Iowa Code, Chapter 364.7. Do we have the aerial? Could bring the aerial up. Just to refresh your memory, we've had a number of conversations about this. This is the property at 5100 72nd Street, known as the Metro Ice Facility, and part of the Winter Park, which includes the Winter Park Sledding Hill. What's before you tonight is the conveyance of the 5.9 acres that's highlighted there, 5.915 acres that's highlighted there under the Metro Ice Sports Facility. As you know, this process started probably about a year ago with a variety of conversations about exploring a lease. And we were subsequently approached. The Metro Ice facility is owned, the building is owned by DM Rink Partners LLC. But we were subsequently, while we were in negotiations with that company about the possibility of a lease extension, we were approached essentially by them, but by this new organization, Six Sportsplex LLC, about purchasing the property. The challenges, as are well documented, have been that the city owns the ground and has some need for the neighboring property and utilizes the neighboring property. But it's suffice it to say, it's been very challenging, I think, to operate the facility with owning the facility and us owning the ground. And it's created some administrative challenges and frankly, just additional work for staff for the fact that we own the ground underneath the facility and don't control or own the facility. And so as ICE became a non-issue and ICE was removed from the building, it required us to take a look at, okay, what do we do from here? And so at first we were honestly a little bit reluctant to look at selling this property, but the more we discussed it and considered the options, we fairly quickly came to the conclusion that this is a really viable option for them in terms of operating the facility and for us in terms of a more traditional relationship with us being the city, and we have responsibilities to regulate the facility, but won't have to actually work that closely with the owner of the building and the property. So what's before you is a sale of the property for $644,000. We did have the property appraised. It came back at $644,000. We attached the opening pages of the appraisal for the council's consideration there. There's some significant next steps that need to occur. So the due diligence period in this transaction is a little more complex than it typically would be in this conveyance of property because of the rezoning component. So the couple things that will be happening, they will be required to submit for a rezoning application. And if that occurs by March the 9th, then that could be heard by the Plan and Zoning Commission on April 13th. And they would make a recommendation to this council. And the earliest that could be considered would be in May. So this is still going to take a couple of more months to have the due diligence and move forward. We also have the requirement they're going to be doing a plat of survey and making sure that the easement is in place, because we will need to continue to access the property, as will the public, for the sledding hill, and also for the access to the adjacent property, which we will continue to own there, as shown on the exhibit. So we have expect that we will also just mention here that we will likely need to amend the purchase agreement that the council previously approved, just to extend the closing date, because by the time they submit their request for rezoning and go through that process, and they can come to the council for consideration, it will likely, in 3 readings, it would likely be June 2nd would be the earliest that would be considered. So we do have that piece of housekeeping that will need to be done at a later date. I know that the Six Sportsplex LLC folks are in the back of the room. They can answer questions about the facility. I'm happy to answer questions about the sale transaction.
All right.
David, you said that, you said March 9 is when we would need the zoning application, or which?
They would submit that to staff, and then we would then come in with an agenda item on March 17th to have what's essentially a council-initiated rezoning. Doesn't mean the council agrees to the rezoning, it just because we own the property, the council has to be the one to initiate the rezoning.
Any further questions for David at this time? All right, we are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? Do you wanna-
Ryan Bennett, Darwin Salas, we are the owners of SIG Sports Complex LLC. I'm also the owner of DM Rink Partners. We joined this partnership to really change over the facility to a multi-sports complex when the compressors and chillers went out the rink last year. Darwin actually obviously has a soccer program here in town, using it as a facility, and really taking over the reins on the soccer side of things.
I'm Darwin Salas. I'm the owner of the pro indoor soccer team, the Iowa Demon Hawks. And we were grateful enough to meet Ryan last year, and saw great potential on that property to really benefit the entire community by making it more into a multi-sport facility. At this point, in the last 3-4 months, we were able to do a lot of changes. You know, we fixed the parking. We really turned it around. We currently host soccer academies, baseball, running clubs, soccer, and really bringing communities together, which is what our main focus is. As the owner of the pro indoor soccer team, this is a great facility for us to do our training. We are part of a bigger project here in Urbandale, but we'll be very happy to continue doing stuff with the community and just growing, helping our youth. Yeah.
Any questions that you had for the applicant?
Does the purchase include the sledding hill?
No,
No.
we're keeping that out.
Just the 5.915 acres underneath the building and the parking lot.
Got it.
But the public would still have access to park there
Yes.
when they use the sledding
That's
hill.
what the easement will be part of this due diligence process, and it will be included so that public will continue to be able to access the sledding hill, as will our city staff.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Would anyone else like to address this item? Sorry, excuse me. Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Motion by Bodie.
Second.
Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
David, I have a quick question on the parking easement. This might have been in the packet, and I just forgot. Is there, as part of that easement, is there like a spots allotment, or is it just like if you want to use the hill, you can park? I didn't know if I didn't know if there was something.
Do you recall how that's structured?
I don't have that right in front of me, so I don't want to tell you for certain. I know at one point we did talk about a general area in which it could be at least identified where the public would have access to park, but I don't want to tell you that for certain. I can get you more information on that, though.
But it's something rather than blanket, just parking.
Correct. That's my recollection, yes.
My name is Ellie Mendlick. I'm the attorney representing SIG Sportsplex LLC, and I have the attachment that describes the easement, and there's a picture that showcases the directions westernmost side of the parking lot that I can. Okay, perfect. Small, but. So we're talking these 12 spots.
Okay. So it's kind of regionally bounded
Yeah.
as far
and
as that.
There's
Okay.
the sign for the sledding hill that sits right there where the spots will be.
Motion to approve resolution 103-2026.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Cacciatore. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. That passes. All right, thank you. Item 7.3 is a public hearing and consideration of bids for the Douglas Avenue preservation from 111th Street to 121st Street. The public notice for this was published in the February 13, 2026 Des Moines Register. Ask if there are any objections to that notice is published.
There were none.
Ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote. That passes. And introducing this is our Director of Engineering Public Works, John Larson. John?
Okay, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Yeah, this is our bids for our Douglas Avenue Preservation Project from 111th Street west to 121st Street. On February 25th, we received 7 bids for this project. We're recommending the low bid of the concrete contracting company in the amount of $399,246. Their low bid was approximately $40,000 or 9.2% below our engineer's estimate. So with the project, we'll be constructing 2,000 square yards of full depth concrete patching, 550 square yards of partial depth asphalt patching, and then 700 tons of an asphalt overlay. Also included with this, due to the proximity, we're gonna do 300 square yards of patching at Fire Station 42. There is a road closure associated with this. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but we're intending for the project to be done in September. So with this figure here, this is our project, 111th on Douglas over to 121st. The red boxes are our full depth patches. The partial depth patches in the overlay, they'll occur in the westbound lanes from the off-ramp of Douglas over towards the entrance of Pilot. So it's just in this area is our partial depths in the overlay. That involves the closure. The closure can only occur from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. on Sunday through a Thursday night. We don't let them do a closure on Friday night or Saturday night. With this, as you can imagine, we'll have this closure on the westbound. It'll impact the off-ramp for Douglas. So the detour will be, they'll continue on the interstate, they'll get off at Hickman, go on Hickman over to 128th Street, and then be able to come back up to Douglas. It'll be a similar thing when they are coming on westbound Douglas, because again, westbound will be closed from the ramp over to the truck stop. You'll go on the loop ramp, come on to the interstate, go down to Hickman Road, back over to 128th, and come back up to Douglas. Just let you know, all this has been approved through the DOT. And then as far as a timeline, I'm estimating at probably the longest it would be a week's worth of night work. And I'm hopeful it could be even less than that. So I guess with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I'm assuming that when that happens, you're gonna be talking to Pilot.
Correct.
'Cause-
And they'll still have access into their driveway.
Yeah, I guess I don't think trucks are actually gonna go do that whole detour to go back, but maybe they will, I don't know. Or they'll just go to the next exit.
Again, my understanding, they're pretty well set where they stop, so they'll know to take the detour and come on around.
But they know it's coming, Pilot does, or they will?
Like I said, when we have actual timelines from our contractor, then we will share it with them when we know actually when things are gonna happen.
Okay.
Any other questions for John? We're in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote. That passes. There are 4 resolutions for consideration.
Move approval of resolution 094-2026.
Motion by Kroll.
Second.
Second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote. passes.
Move resolution 095-2026.
Motion by Kroll.
Second.
Second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
Move resolution 096-2026.
Motion by Kroll.
Second.
Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. We got the cadence going.
You know, I had a cadence going, I missed.
That passes.
And move resolution 106-2026.
Motion by
Second.
Kroll. Second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote.
Wait, you can't go to La La Land out here.
That passes. Thank you. Item 7.4 is a public hearing and consideration of bids for Northview Park Trail System, Sylvan Ridge to Northview Park, and that public notice was published in the February 13, 2026 Des Moines Register. Are there any objections to that notice is published?
There were none.
Is there motion to open this public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Kroll.
Second.
Second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote.
I've been fired.
That passes. John?
Okay, so this is the bids for our Northview Park Trail project. On February 25th, we received 8 bids on this project. We're recommending the low bid from Caliber Concrete in the amount of $192,889.30. Their bid was approximately $191,000, or almost 50% less than our engineer's estimate, so got really good bids on this one. The project itself would involve approximately 1,900 square yards of new 5-inch PCC trail and or the length of approximately 2,150 feet. We're anticipating the project being done in September. Just to kind of show where the project is at, starts down here, comes up along the east side, up Northview Park, and then continues on over to the east, and then it ties into where we had previously reconstructed the trail with a like I said, a previous project. So again, be glad to answer any questions.
John, is that east-west stretch where the big hill is?
Yes.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Correct. That's where we got some additional grading going on to try to reduce the slopes through there to make that better.
You're gonna reduce the slopes? I'm very disappointed. I'm kidding.
I was like, dude.
Please reduce slopes.
Yes.
We wish it could even be flatter than we got it, but it's as good as we could get
No,
through
it's fine.
there.
It's all
Yeah,
good.
that's-
It's all good.
That's what e-bikes are for.
That is a steep bill.
Yep.
All right, thank you, John. We are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote.
Hey, John, how wide is that trail?
That is 8 foot, I believe, correct? Yep, 8 foot.
That passes.
Move approval 097, resolution 097-2026.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
Move resolution 098-2026.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
Move resolution 099-2026.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. All right, item 7.5 is a public hearing to consider the sanitary sewer easements for the Des Moines Metropolitan Wastewater Reclamation Authority. The public notice for this was published on the February 20, 2026 Des Moines Register, and ask any objections to that notice is published.
There were none.
Is there a motion to open this public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. John?
Okay, so yeah, this is the granting of sanitary sewer easements to the Des Moines WRA. So just kind of give you a little background here. The red lines here are the existing sanitary sewer trunk lines that the USSD is looking to transfer to the WRA. You'll recall in the past, there was a parallel line to this north-south one that was built with Grimes. So the Grimes sewer comes on along the red line north-south. And then there's also a sewer that was built along the east-west one here that connects into Waukee. basically, since when these sewers were built at different points due to elevations, the sewers, the new ones and the existing ones, they kind of commingle, they had to cross each other. So once those become kind of joint sewers, that's when the WRA will take over the maintenance responsibilities if the entities request that. So in order to transfer those, there needs to be easements for the WRA. Both of these sewers outside of the circles, that's already in the USSD's name, so they'll transfer those. But there was three areas where the easements were not anywhere, they were just in the city. Basically, we didn't typically grant easements over streets when the USSD was doing their projects. Well, with the WRA, they want the access to get at it. So there's one easement here on Meredith Drive, another one to the north around where the pedestrian bridge on the trail is. Then the other one includes 156th Street and part of the park to the northwest. So also kind of wanted to show with this area is really a very small part of the USSD's network. When we look at just 156th Street here and Meredith Drive, I know this is kind of confusing, but here's 156th Street and here's Meredith. So coming up through here is where that trunk sewer is at. All these other sewers that you see outside the red lines, those will remain the USSD's. So just to step back here, all the sewers that you see west of 156th Street, east, all these areas here, all those sewers still remain with the USSD. It is just these red lines here that they're looking to transfer to the WRA. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right, questions for John?
So let's say there's a maintenance issue, basically, the USSD would be primarily responsible
Not anymore. Once they transfer them, it's not their responsibility anymore. It'll be
for the trunk
WRA's.
line.
For the trunk line.
Okay,
correct.
but for any the peripheral feeder lines,
Correct.
that would be USSD.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
We are in public hearing on this item. Would anyone like to address the council on this item? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Kroll.
Second.
Second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote. That passes.
Move resolution 092-2026.
Second.
Motion by Kroll, second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Moving on to item 8, to establish new public hearings. Item 8.1 is to establish a public hearing for the Meadows Drive HMA overlay project for March 17, 2026.
Motion to approve resolution 108-2026.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 8.2 is to establish a public hearing for the 2026 sewer lining program for April 7, 2026.
Motion to approve resolution 088-2026.
Motion by Rosendahl.
Second.
Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 9.1 is to consider the Gloria Day Lutheran Church accessory building site plan at 8301 Aurora Avenue. And Christie's back up to present this. Christie?
I think this will be shorter. We're at the Gloria Day Lutheran Church up here, 8301 Aurora, so we're just east of 86th Street. I'm going to focus on the east portion of that facility. This is the easternmost edge of the building. If you've been past there, you know they have the outdoor playground for their preschool daycare program. They're going to put a shed there instead, 1,200 square feet in size. You can see that located here. It's about 64 feet from the property line along Aurora, and it's about 70 feet from the residential that adjoin to the east. With that, they're relocating their playground. You can see that on this photo as well. You'll see some of the comments in your staff report related to this playground because of exiting paths and gates and that sort of thing. Their overhead door will be to the west, so it will face back to the church. It will not face south, north, or east to the residences. So they tried to think about that, and it's the most convenient direction to. They're gonna redo their trash enclosure as well. You'll see the comments and conditions in the staff report. Fairly straightforward. We've asked that they update and replace some of the landscaping that's gone missing there to the residences, to the east especially, just to make sure we keep that buffer in place. Brad was here, but he may not be anymore from Bishop. You may recall this got delayed a little bit. We had to figure out who owned a strip of land, and it turns out the good news, they own it, the church owns it, so it was just a long story. But we got to figure it out, and that's why it's back on your agenda, but that was the reason for the quick delay. So I'll take any questions you may have. Planning and zoning recommended approval, staff recommends approval.
The black lines around this, that's fencing around the playground. And it goes beyond just where that one little mark is.
The new black lines?
Yes.
Yes, that is fencing.
Okay.
What was the second part of your question, though?
That's it.
Just
You
just
got
fencing.
it, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Is it does the fence go all the way to the building, or is it just like the path connects to the building and then there's fence? It looks like it's fence.
The kids, here's how I understand it. The preschool will walk right out that door into the gated fenced area. But they have to figure out the gates so that when you're exiting that, they don't block it off. So I'm sure there will be a way to corral the children, but I don't know that we're to that level of detail with the site plan.
Okay.
But they're mindful because that's the exiting path, so they don't want the swing gates blocking it with that design.
It's also a licensure issue.
I'm sure.
Oh, thank you.
I love that the playground's on the same side as the building now.
Yeah. All right. Anybody make a motion?
Motion to approve Gloria Day Lutheran Church accessory building site plan.
Motion by Rosendahl.
Second.
Second by Carberry Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Regular agenda items. Item 10.1 is consider the bids for the 2026 traffic signal improvements. John?
Yep. So on February 25th, we received 2 bids for this project. We're recommending the low bid of Iowa Signal in the amount of $29,689.60. Their low bid was approximately $17,500 or 37% less than our engineer's estimate. With this project, we'll be installing a new pan, tilt, and zoom camera. We're adding pole-mounted pedestrian push buttons at 70th Street and Meredith Drive. And then we're going to add outlets for our holiday decorations at 5 of our 5 intersections on the traffic signal poles. We're anticipating the work being done by February 4th. So, September 4th. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Questions for John?
Move approval, council letter 8509.
Motion by Kroll.
Second.
Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote.
Bridget likes traffic signals, I'm sure.
Where is Bridget?
She had to run the bathroom.
Oh.
She didn't have to leave.
I can see why she wanted to do that. Bold, should have just.
Someone go in there. Hey, Bridget, you okay with this?
I tell people all the time, you really need to watch
That only works
council
in the
meetings.
legislature. That doesn't work here.
Oh my God, you waited for me? Yeah, hit yes, please.
That passes. Item 10.2 is consider the bids for the 2026 Trail Improvements Program. John?
Yep, so this is our annual trail project. On February 12th, we received 12 bids on, February 25th, we received 12 bids on this project. We're recommending the low bid from Howry Construction, the amount of $88,578.34. Their bid was approximately $40,000 or 31% less than our engineer's estimate. Here, the trail will be 5 foot wide, 4 inches thick concrete. That'll be in 3 different locations for a total length of approximately 1,280 feet and we're looking at it being done in September of this year. To show where things are at, so we got 72nd Street on the left here, the interstate. So 2 of the locations are north of the interstate, and the third one will be south of the interstate. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
All right. Questions for John?
Move approval of resolution 107-2026.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 10.3 is consider the equipment rental for trucks for the spring cleanup. And John, answer any questions there are.
Move approval of council letter 8490.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. Spring cleanup is coming. That passes. Item 10.4 is consider the engineering services agreement for 142nd Street and Meredith Drive traffic signal.
Move approval council letter 8492.
Motion by Kroll,
Happily second.
second by Carberry and Montgomery. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 10.5 is to consider the engineering services agreement for Hickman Road Trail from 100th Street to 111th Street.
Move approval council letter 8494.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Bodie. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 10.6 is consider the engineering services agreement for 2028 footing drain improvements project.
Move approval council letter 8501.
Motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 10.7 is to consider the master services and license agreement with Ebix Inc. And John, answer any questions. John's not here, is he? No.
Move approval council letter 84. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Motion by Kroll. No, this would, John Conier's online if you had any questions on this, but you moving approval?
Oh, got it. Okay. Move approval council letter 8493.
All right, motion by Kroll,
Second.
second by Rosendahl. Discussion, please vote. That passes. Item 10.8 is consider the construction manager agreement for the Urbandale Police Department headquarters project, and introducing this is our assistant city manager, Curtis Brown. Curtis?
All right, good evening, Mayor and council members. We just have 8 slides to get through here, and then Angie Fonku, our owner's agent, will be able to get her on her way for the evening. So thank you, Angie, for being here.
She's enjoyed the riveting night of public hearings.
Just an overview of the process that got us here so far. Our owner's agent, Angie Fonku from Sidekick, developed an RFP for these construction management services. That was open roughly mid-January through early February. We received five responses, selected 3 firms to interview, and the interview panel was Police Chief Johansson, Captain Underwood, David Jones, myself, and Angie. Our consensus recommendation was to select and recommend to the City Council for approval DCI Group. Some of the considerations for recommending them to you tonight is the number of Central Iowa public safety projects they clearly have experience in this role as a construction manager, the personnel they are assigning and dedicating to the project, their understanding of what we're trying to do in priorities with the project. They also had a very competitive fee representing a lot of value to the city for that fee. And then the consensus of the panel was really our confidence in their ability to manage the timeline and budgets. And referring back to previous discussions at the council, this construction delivery method of working with an owner's agent and a construction manager in concert with the architect, really one of the purposes of that is to keep the project moving forward and really control unexpected cost overruns. And that has been successful in our other peer cities that have constructed these facilities recently. Just looking at the fee breakdown, and Nicole circulated an item called Attachment A that will be part of the contract, but there's really 3 phases here. And the first is this pre-construction phase, which would be from tonight, if you approve the contract, through the referendum on November 3. And during this phase, really the important parts for us is now the construction manager enters the discussion and helps to really fine-tune the program, and very importantly for all of us and our strategy is putting an estimate on this project. So that's a very important part of this, and they'll continue to work as a team, really Angie, the architect, and the construction manager together with us, the owner. And this phase through the referendum is $30,000. The next is general conditions, and those are basically the items that are essential to delivering the project, the job site, and then the professional fees associated with managing this. That is currently estimated at $69,232 for 18 months, totaling up to approximately $1.25 million. The third is, and this is a standard way that construction managers price these projects, is based on a fee, in this case 1.95%, again, which represented significant value, on an estimated $40 million. Well, that estimate is very important because we do not know what the construction will be until all the bids come in. So that second bullet there, one of the things the construction manager does is looks at this entire project and says, there's structural, there's plumbing, there's HVAC, there's flooring, breaks those into competitive packages, which then are bid in the traditional way that you're familiar with, as John presented tonight. So there is a hard bid aspect of this. And then when all those bids come in, then we know our number to construct this thing, and that is what the fee will be based on. So a total of $780 there, as we understand it tonight. So adding those up is a total estimate of around $2.1 million is what we could represent tonight. But of course, that will depend on the actual bids and the length of the overall construction. So if the council does approve DCI as the construction manager tonight, now we've assembled our team. We've got our owner, our agent, our architect, and the architects are Danielle Herman and Aaron Tweet, and then our construction manager. So then we really start to move this project forward. And just a sneak peek at what's coming down the pipe then would be our next Tuesday, we have our city council work session in person here, 11:45 to 1:30 with the architects. Schematic design should be, we should start to be seeing things of design of the building and conceptually and how it would sit on the site in mid-April. Cost estimates later spring, early summer. Begin that community education really late summer in preparation for the referendum on November 3. So of course, Angie is here. If you have any questions for Angie or me, we are happy to field them. Otherwise, recommending this resolution for approval.
All right.
I think one thing, and this is not part of the package that we're considering tonight, but like as part of the community education piece, I think a really important piece of that is going to be speaking to, not, obviously we won't be able to say exactly what the existing station would mean for the community, but try to give people some spirit of what that may entail, because I think there's going to be people that are going to be looking at it from a going forward, but also a what is going to happen now, what is going to happen next with the building and space on this campus. So I think that's just a comment.
Agreed. Okay.
So Curtis, I see that at 2.8.1, there is a requirement for, looks like liability insurance for bodily injury and property damage. My question is, and I hesitate to ask this question because I don't mean to imply that anything would go south, but is the construction manager required to have their own errors and omissions coverage?
They do have errors and omissions coverage as well. It's just not covered in the AIA document, but they do have errors and omissions as well. And then there will be someone that covers builder's risk as well.
Okay, so we're not requiring that as a matter of our contract?
The E&O?
Yeah.
Not in the AIA document, no.
Okay. Do we have an idea of what that looks like, what the policy limits would be?
We only today have the policy limits based off what's required in this document. I can get those for you.
So
for-
1 million, 2 million?
Yeah, that's what's in this document, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I've said this before, and I'm a victim of my own training. I think those are a little light. I'm not asking that they be changed necessarily, but I'd like to see us revisit those requirements in all of our contracts.
So this attachment A, where we had the costs for the 30K and then the 1.2 and the 780, that's what this breakdown is the pre-construction services fee column is really what is entailed in that 30K, the construction services and the general conditions.
Yes, so this lists out, this was part of their RFP process so that we can compare apples to apples, because when you get these back in, some people have things under cost of work, some people have them under general conditions. So this was part of their attachment, and then they just did the cover letter for us for tonight. But yes, so all of that is in the total of the $2 million, assuming a $40 million 18-month construction project.
So in order for us to get to the pretty pictures and the cost estimate that we need for our public education campaign, we need the architect and these folks and Angie and us to all be working together. And we'll have that mid-ish to late summer, because I want that committee to just knock it out of the park.
Yeah, so the schematic design we'll have in mid-April. We're actually going to do a budget just based off of a narrative and some block diagramming here the first part of April as we're doing schematic design, just to make sure, 60,000 square feet is $40 million, right? So we're going to do that first. But yeah, I think the community education is more of a timing thing to make sure people are excited when November comes, so we don't get it out too early in April and then people forget. So I think that the date was really a date to keep excitement and build excitement, was the late summer date. And by then, yes, we'll have renderings, we'll have floor plans, all the things, and we will have a really good budget to say, this is 40 million, this is 38 million, whatever it is, so that when you go out, the number doesn't change between then and when you go to bond referendum. So that's also why we pushed it to late summer, is to be very firm on the number.
Great.
All right. Any further questions?
Motion to approve resolution 105-2026.
Motion by Rosendahl,
Second.
second by Kroll. Any further discussion? Please vote. Thanks, Angie. We appreciate it. Thank you, Curtis. That passes. Item 10.9 is considered the rail line abandonment letter for public use condition funding, filing, and I'll turn this back over to John Larson. John?
So I'll do my best to explain this. I think there's a very fluid situation right now, so kind of just give you a general overview. So basically, the Norfolk Southern and the Iowa Interstates Railroad have expressed their desire to abandon their line that runs through Urbandale. It'll also impact like Des Moines, West Des Moines, Windsor Heights, Clive, and Grimes. Last week, the mayor and I met down at the MPO. Several of the impacted agencies were represented along with the DOT, and it was kind of determined that probably rail banking was probably the most appropriate method that basically gives us the most options to secure the property going forward. There's a whole process that's involved, but another recommendation from that meeting was the Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation should be the lead agency. They have the most experience. They have done this before. The individual cities have not done it on their own, nor has the MPO. So again, that's an organization that's well equipped to go through this process on our behalf. So in summary, basically, the recommendation tonight is we just want to have the letter approved that would designate the Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation as our representative going forward. They've asked from all the communities that would pick them to be kind of their lead agency. So to kind of show where we're talking about, and again, not a great picture, but this is what came from the railroad when they provided us notice, but to kind of show you where we're at. It starts up here in Grimes, comes through, crosses the interstate into Urbandale, goes through Clive, West Des Moines, Windsor Heights, and down to Des Moines. So it's just over 12 miles that they're asking, hopefully they'll be asking to abandon. They haven't, my understanding, they have not made their formal request yet. So we needed to make their formal request before we can say we're interested in the property. But just to give you a little better idea where it is in Urbandale. So we're starting just northwest of the interstate. We cross the interstate, comes along Northwest Urbandale Drive, comes across Meredith, and then continues kind of parallel to Northwest Urbandale Drive to get to Douglas. Then it crosses to the east side of 100th, comes on along the west side of the residential, all the way down to Hickman, which is just east of the Parks and Public Works facility. So with that, I'd be glad to try to answer questions for you.
Just as a cyclist, I've got a little bit of a question. Does this rail line, it went into Des Moines, how, does it go into what, is it the rail line that ends up in Waterworks Park? Or do we know?
Actually, when we were talking at the MPO meeting, there was some confusion exactly where this ends down in Des Moines.
I think it is, Pat. I think
Okay.
it is, yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, this is, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, this is the one that goes in front of Homemakers.
Yeah, well, in between
Or in
homemade.
between.
If this is adjacent to Homemakers here that comes through.
Well, in Pat, it goes,
That one?
it then
Okay.
goes
Yep, that one.
That one, okay.
across Buffalo Road and 72nd Street there, and down through Windsor Heights on its way to what I believe is Waterworks.
That's what I think's happening, which is
But-
really amazing if it happens.
The good news about this abandonment, in connection with what we just discussed, is that then we're gonna have an opportunity to rework at 100th and Douglas, and so that won't interfere with the police station as much as what a rail line would currently do.
Because what I'd envision, if this did become a trail someday, and really to ask for the banking is, you don't have to have a definite plan, you just have to use it for transportation sometime in the future. But with us, you know, you wouldn't want to cross 100th Street in Douglas again, so you'd probably, if it became a trail, you'd come up the east side of 100, use the traffic signal to get across to the north side of Douglas, and then you could get back onto the trail as well. So again, as the mayor was saying, that would free up part of the police station ground there. I think typically there's a possibility it could go back to a railroad someday. So you know, you have to be careful what you use that property for, but they also said they're only aware, I think, twice has that ever happened, and they were on the East Coast when that happened, so.
So there are special railroad laws that permit them to reclaim what they've
Right,
abandoned?
that's part of this, that'll be one of the stipulations of the sale of the property
Oh, I
to an
see.
entity.
Yeah, that's part of the Rails to Trails movement, yeah.
But
But
it's
again,
highly unlikely this line is. I mean,
Right, it's highly
Yeah.
unlikely, but I think we just have to be aware of that when it comes to the police station.
Concrete over the top of it won't be a problem, but you wouldn't want any buildings on top.
Correct, correct.
Be
So-
precluded from doing that.
Would we be far enough along in this process to be able to know that when we're doing the police station here in the next 6 months, that we
It's gonna
don't,
be tough, because there's a couple things.
to-
After they finally file, I think it's a 30 to 45-day window. You have to say you're interested. If it gets approved, and then they give you 6-month blocks to kind of negotiate. Basically, you can ask for extensions. You get the first 6 months. What might be helpful is the Union Pacific would like to buy Norfolk Southern, it sounds like. So this may be a cleanup that they didn't want to buy this portion. So hopefully maybe it'll go a little faster, that it's something that they don't want in their future purchase.
so we were just gonna likely have green space in that corner of the property of the police station anyway? I mean,
Or I think it depends on if it ended up to be concrete, it maybe would be a later phase or
Yeah.
something like that, that we could expand into that area as needed. But as was said, you wouldn't want a building there, but concrete would be something, if you ever had to, you could tear out.
but we're gonna go forward with our design such that it's still a rail line,
Yeah.
okay?
On your slide, it said railroad banking.
Yep.
Is that the formal term for?
That's the
they
term they
sell
used,
it, but they
yep.
can take it back, basically.
Correct, correct. It just has to, again, probably deeper in the weeds than even I understand, but the way it sounds is, again, the biggest thing is the railroad is allowed to transfer it as long as it's guaranteed to remain a transportation use. They just don't specify what that use is, which would still allow the railroad to come back.
So bicycle delivery of your Homemakers furniture is a possibility, is what I hear.
Well, I worked with Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation on the High Trestle Trail, and they are the pros from Dover on this. So I think this is really good.
Yep, absolutely. All right, with that, is there a motion?
I'd be happy to move it if I could find the number here in front of me.
8512.
Moving council letter 8512.
Voting.
Second.
Second by Cacciatore. Discussion, please vote. That passes. That takes us to the end of our voting items, and now we're on to discussing the 2026-2027 strategic plan. Curtis.
All righty. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Yes, I am very aware of the time. The good news is you don't need to do a strategic plan tonight. The bad news is we are going to talk about it and hopefully reaffirm our mission, vision, and values. Nicole has passed around or is coming around this 11 by 17. If you can take one. The problem is now you'll start reading it, but that's okay. That's what it's for. This that's coming around recaps our previous strategic plan, the 2024-2025 plan. That was a consultant-led process administered internally by John Conyer on our staff. And this really would be a moment to thank John for all of his work on stewarding this 2024-2025 plan, all the reports that came to the council, the management of the consultant, and by the way, he also did that with the Human Services Plan at the same time. So we appreciate all of John's work with this.
Yes, we do.
So coming forward, that strategic plan defined our mission, vision, and values, which we'll talk again about in just a moment here. But importantly, also defined three core areas in the plan. Number one, community infrastructure and planning, public safety, and then administration and governance. And this is something I think that we really need to pause and take a moment to celebrate everything that's happened here in the last 24 months. So these 14 projects, if you remember, there were those three core areas, 14 projects listed under them. Those 14 projects had 55 separate action steps throughout all of them. And here today, 39 of those steps are complete, and 16 have not been. It's not a matter of, well, we didn't get to them. No, as time goes by, they either have become things we're just going to continue doing, for example, like building relationships with property owners in our annexation area. We're not going to do that once and stop, so that'll continue. Or they've been modified. Time or partnerships or circumstance have told us we thought this would make sense back in January of 2024, but seeing where we're at now, we've modified that action steps. But the bottom line is 39 of those are actually complete and moving forward. And these on the front here just highlight 7 that of those 14 projects that really have made remarkable progress. And this recaps some of the outstanding steps we've taken forward in these areas. It should also hopefully be assigned to all of you on the council that you have identified these as priorities. Staff took it seriously and moved them forward. And so you see how we go from plan to action, summarized here in just 7 of them. So let's keep moving. There's only 8 slides here, by the way. Thought you'd like to know. So the 2024-2025 plan, the summary was received in February. We talked about the actions completed. One important thing too is that many of these projects and actions are now just integrated into the city work. You look at things like affordable housing, which once was something we said we should start to do more with this, and boy have we. And so affordable housing is part of our work. Aaron DeYoung and Ebony Woods spend a lot of time on downtown redevelopment now. That is a priority. The police department headquarters, emergency planning, the comp plan, human services, and annexation are all things that have, I'll say, graduated from a strategic plan initiative to something that's just part of the way we work. So where are we now in March of 2026? This organization is deeper, and by that we mean we are actually delivering more of our previous services, and we're delivering better service. And so as our city expands, as more pets need to be licensed and picked up and taken to the shelter, we just do more of what we've done, and we're always looking for ways to deliver it better. Our organization is wider as well. We're delivering new services. Take something just like the Miracle on 86th Street, for example. At once, it became a new service that we delivered, and now we continue to make it better, so deeper and wider. And we're literally wider. We are expanding, as we saw in consideration of the plating tonight. There are more people in Urbandale, thankfully, and we're managing more territory. So deeper, wider, and with that, we're also trying to be responsible stewards. Interestingly, and I talked with Nikki this afternoon, our personnel as a percent of our budget is still among the lowest in the metro, which means we're doing a lot with a very reasonable amount. Our competitive tax rate, which is always competitive, has been reduced now for the second year in a row. And all of that is being done with a high degree of resident satisfaction, as we see in our resident surveys, and we'll see again hopefully this fall. So that's a snapshot of where we are right now. Our staff members, and we believe you know this, but it bears repeating again, these are staff members that are oriented to service. We and all of our colleagues internally are oriented to deliver and keep getting those high satisfaction rates on the resident surveys. We embrace continuous improvement. We're an organization that's not satisfied with just the way we've been doing things, but we want to get better. Look at the CitizenServe online portal for all the building permits as an example. And we desire to deliver on expectations. Whose expectations? Our community, but also all of you as well. We do want to deliver for the items that you put out there, and we will work hard to get that done. And right now, we obviously have local government fiscal pressures, which limit how much we can grow. But at the same time, as we know as part of this conversation, resident and business expectations still remain high. So what does all that mean as we come into the next strategic planning? Well, what we propose is to develop and deliver this strategic planning in-house that really focuses, by the time we get down to work here in early April with the council, really focused on the second half of 26 and then through 2027. That should get us another solid 18 months of strategic planning to know where we're going and to reaffirm some of our processes. The strategic planning really should recognize that additional depth and breadth of the city's work that we talked about. That we are continuing to do a lot more and do it better. It recognizes that there is real staff and fiscal capacity to keep all of those things in balance. The staff that we have on hand, the place we want to be financially, those aren't without limits. So every good project has constraints on it that helps you plan and do better. It should define and refine your priorities. We've taken on a lot and recognized the things that are important to all of you, so we can get that into clearer focus. But really, the strategic planning will be moderated to fit the current situation. Certainly, the policymakers do set the policy. That is, nobody has any doubt about that. But we hope as we go through this process that we really moderate where we're at so that we can continue to be as successful as we have been in the last couple of years. So to give an overview of the process, we're looking at 4 sessions. So thankfully, we're 25% of the way through as of tonight. So session 1 is to explain this process, identify the goals, and then we'll look at our mission, vision, and values in just a moment here and review the status of the current plan as we've done. So that's done. Second, if you approve this going forward, the department directors will have a chance to communicate to you what they see within their departments, the major projects they're working on, the major ways that they're getting better over the next 18 months. So coming into the planning with all of you, you'll already be brought along to here's what's happening in the departments. We haven't done that previously, so that'll be something we can bring forward. Then we'll have a session with all of you to generate your ideas. We've already heard from some of you on items that you'd like to see in the next iteration of the plan, and we encourage you to hang on to those so that those come forward. And then finally, once we have all of these ideas, we'll have another session where you can consider and select the top priority in each of the 3 areas that we identified earlier. So to look first at the mission, vision, and values. If you flip to the back side of your sheet here, you've got those both on your screen and in hard copy here. The mission, to foster a safe and inclusive Urbandale through the delivery of outstanding municipal services, fiscal responsibility, and a dedicated focus on community members, with the vision to be a safe, regionally connected community where diversity is valued, opportunities are abundant, and all can thrive, and the values of sustainability, quality of life, safety, inclusivity, collaboration, and accountability. So the question, the task before the council tonight is, does this mission, vision, and values remain evergreen at least for the next 18 months, or do you see a spot for refinement? Because this is a cornerstone on which we build the rest of the process. And we'll open it up to your thoughts.
We worked so hard on getting this. I like this.
I think what we have here on mission, vision, and values does provide a lot of value, I think, in how we move forward. And I guess I don't see any reason to do any modifications at this point in time. I think it gives us a lot of framework.
I think so too, Blake. Besides, we'd have to get a new sign for the lobby.
We would have to get a new sign for the lobby.
I was really impressed with our work when I just reread it. I was like, wow, that was good. So I think I don't see any reason to change these. I know we put a lot of time and effort and staff and the consultants, so I'm good.
I would agree. I don't think we need to revisit that part.
Okay. Sounds like we're getting to consensus there. That's great. And
So Joe, you weren't involved in this, were you? Did we do a good job, you think?
You get behind these. 3,
I'll get back to you.
2, 1.
Well, that's great. So long as Councilmember Cacciatore is on board as well.
I'm definitely on board.
Okay, sounds great. We'll take that as consensus and move forward. These are helpful guides to the staff as well. It's a good north arrow on our compass as we do our work.
I'm just saying, if I'm going to rate it, I might want something in return. That's all. We'll leverage.
All right. Here's what the next steps in the process would look like. So we've completed tonight. The next session, we will bring forward information from the departments in a uniform presentation that will give you a sense across all of the departments of the major projects that are happening in the next 18 months in the ways the departments are looking to get better. And so Nicole and I will be working diligently to line up calendars here. That second session may be a part of a regular council meeting if it's in person, or it could be presented in such a way that you're able to receive it electronically. The third session will be where a lot of the hard work is done. That could be up to 2.5 hours. We'll work to be as efficient as possible. And what I propose is using the Peter and Susan Glazer collaborative problem-solving model. Certainly you can Google that, Peter and Susan Glazer collaborative problem-solving model. That is a model that we've used a lot internally. It surfaces a lot of ideas from a wide variety of people and then efficiently moves them to projects that can be turned into action. So it's a model that's worked for us well, and what is proposed here for session 3 and session 4. And then in session 4, after all of the ideas come up, the hard work of selecting that limited number happens. And that would be up to 2 hours. That's probably on the high side. And so we'd look to have everything pinned down by late April to mid-May in the process, so that we've got a good runway coming into the next fiscal year.
Yeah.
So I believe, yep, that is the last slide. Happy to answer any questions. I do realize there's a degree of trust here, not understanding exactly what the next 2 or 3 steps look like, but we'll commit to making sure that you're well prepared in advance of any next session.
The Susan Glazer method doesn't require dots, does it? Just wanna make
We
sure.
are not going to use dots. It could be check marks, but not dots.
But as a real question is, what were the 3 categories again that were supposed to be?
Sure. They come through from the previous,
Okay.
from the
Infrastructure and
previous.
planning, public safety, admin, and governance. Okay.
Exactly
We get the
right.
slide deck?
Really broad.
Pardon?
We get the slide deck, Curtis?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Help to kind of just review that again. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we'll do is basically think of, in those 3 major areas, there are departments that more or less naturally fit within those 3 major chunks. And so in administration and governance, of course, you think broadly, so would include finance and HR, those kinds of things. But departments kind of naturally fit into those 3 focus areas. So exactly like was done in the previous strategic planning, we'll focus our brainstorming in those areas and then select the items that need to rise up from those. So in order to expedite this and develop and deliver it in-house, we are borrowing both from the previous plan, which is good for continuity's sake, and from a model that's been used successfully internally.
I'm sure you have some sort of handout or something from the Peter and Susan Glazer Foundation, or so that we're all on the same page.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I'll send more information to
Okay.
follow up on that.
Okay.
Yeah. They have an excellent website where you can read about their model as well.
Do they have like an executive summary of their website?
You will receive an executive
Okay,
summary.
great.
Are there any other questions I can answer tonight?
I think just in the spirit of clarity, I think I'm comfortable with the core areas too. So I
Yeah, it
just
all
as a-
sounds good.
as a saying things out loud perspective.
All right. Thank you,
Excellent.
Curtis.
We appreciate that, and we'll be in touch with more information soon.
I came in here Sunday night, and he was hard at work working on all this stuff on Sunday.
This looks great.
It looks great.
It should, well, we wouldn't bring anything forward that we didn't think would be a quality process, so we'll commit that to you for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to city manager's report, David.
I'm going to yield my time.
All right. Blake?
I'll keep it brief. I'm very happy with the letter that we met on and transmitted to our legislators. I think that was a quality product. I think it communicated what we needed, and it's something we can easily reference back to.
This is an update, I don't mean to interrupt, Blake,
Yeah.
but this is an update.
Yeah, go ahead.
They did not do floor debate on that Senate file. That was gonna be an amendment similar to what we had written about, so nothing happened today on it, so.
Excellent. I'm excited to do the employee appreciation events. I'm excited that Bridget's excited about doing a second round of trying to appreciate employees.
I will also, I don't know where the front door is of the engineering and public work, or the public works and parks building is, because I went to a door and it didn't actually look like a front door, so I don't know, is it secret somewhere, is it on back? Oh, okay.
That's on the east side.
Because I went to that door and I'm like, this is scary, I'm leaving. So I went to the library and then I called the front desk and was like, where's everybody?
For Friday, though.
Yes.
I think going in.
Normally, staff is in the field, there's nobody there, degrees, when you come around the east side, there's a buzzer that'll get somebody
So I'm
So
excited.
should we enter at the lower level for Friday? Okay, great.
I will be entering at the lower level then. Bravo meeting is on March 11 in the morning, so I'll report back if there's anything of note there. And then congratulations to Derek for being 40 under 40.
Yep.
Yeah.
And surviving Port Arthur too. So.
Yeah.
I think he's
exactly.
still there, though.
He's still there, I think.
Yeah, he gets back, I think, this end of this week or something. I don't know.
I lost track.
Yeah.
Bridget.
I'm going to steal Joe's thunder, I know. I congratulate Damian Tibb of Urbandale High School for his individual state championship in the boys 3A bowling. And then also, congratulations to the combined Waukee boys bowling team on their team championship. So again, our student athletes are doing amazing. Good luck to the Northwest girls basketball as they continue in their championship run. They'll play Dowling in the semifinals on Thursday. I went to my first Dallas County local housing trust fund meeting today, and generally our contribution has been very small, and we haven't had much to show for it, but I think there's going to be some changes coming where we might see some money available for us to use for multifamily projects or competitive money for multifamily and other projects. So I'm excited about that, but that'll be for next year. DART meeting today, as I mentioned at our online meeting, $20 million federal allocation was announced about 10 days ago for phase 2 of our operations and maintenance facility. Really want to thank Mayors Deerenfield and Trimble and our federal delegation for really making that money appear out of nowhere, because it wasn't supposed to be a federal grant-making time, and we just got $20 million. So it's fantastic. So that's what I got for tonight.
Okay. Thanks, Bridget. Pat?
Just a couple of things. One is, I believe we're hopefully going to be having the Sustainable Iowa Land Trust, or SILT, make a presentation, hopefully in April 14th for Lunch and Learn. And that's really around, related to issues today of having 77 acres of agricultural land get converted to housing and some park, and we really need to be able to do some food production. And there are other communities that are doing this. So it's just an important thing to kind of listen for. So we're going to have that come up. And then I wanted to get some clarity around the thing that I keep worrying about for us. And that is, I really hope we can get a better documented method of how we select our vendors. So this $2.1 million contract, while I do believe we've got the right choice, I'm happy about all that, and I love the process that we're going to be using for the police station. We need to be able to guard against any inadvertent deference to authority figures when we're having the discussions around the folks that we select. We need to provide important documentation in case a competitor feels like they want to challenge the selection. And so the process that I'm trying to suggest is not that we publish the fees recommended or any summary of experience per se of the competitors. What I'm suggesting is that we have a matrix, it is filled out, the criteria is weighted, we know what that criteria is, we know how it's weighted, and we know for those who got an interview what the final scores were, the summary total score. So that's not an embarrassment to those folks. They wouldn't be getting interviewed if they weren't qualified. They wouldn't be getting interviewed if they weren't good. So I feel like we need to do this because I think it can protect us. I also feel like it can protect a more thoughtful process. That's not a fair way to put it. A more documented process. And I think it will be more transparent for the public. We are at risk for someone coming up and saying, gee, you've got kind of a friendly relationship with this firm or that company or this person. And this kind of guards against that and also makes sure that everybody who's participating in the process has a good voice because they've gotten to kind of weigh in privately on a document before they have their conversations. And if the numbers don't jive with what the consensus opinion turns out to be, it's simply a matter of writing a rationale for that. So, and I'd be happy to go through that with you, David. I know you've probably used something similar before, but I just keep looking at this and I keep worrying that we're going to get bit someday because we're doing a lot of consensus conversation, not a lot of documentation, and we're not sharing with the public what we have looked at. But thank you very much for providing the proposal for this company that we hired today. I think that was very good to have that. Thank you. That's it. And I know that took me a long time, but I really feel like I've been misunderstood about this, that I want more detail published than I'm interested in. I just want a level of transparency with it and a process that's got some concreteness to it. That's it.
I yield my time.
Smarty pants.
No.
I will not yield. No, I agree, Pat. I think that, process is important for selecting vendors and transparency is important too. I don't have any suggestions as to how exactly that should look, but in principle, I agree. As usual, I'm impressed with the folks that have stepped up to serve on our boards and commissions. The Human Services Advisory Board is just, there's
Stellar folks.
stellar folks, rock stars. I believe we have a newly minted member of our Civil Rights Commission here, Annie
We
Kramer.
sat through it's almost 3-hour meeting.
Yeah.
So sorry.
You didn't have to do that, Annie.
Congratulations and thank you for stepping up for our Civil Rights Commission. I also know the other appointee, Nick Moreland, I think, was appointed. Also great pick. Yes, Bridget, the action steps are very impressive. And so, no, I think really there's been quite a bit accomplished here in the last several years. To add to Bridget, the Urbandale Jayhawk boys are playing as we speak
Yes, they
in the
are.
sub-state final against Ames.
Why
If
I
they
would yield
win,
my time.
they are. Oh, I'm sorry. They will go state, and that would be that.
You haven't gotten a score update?
I looked actually. I couldn't find one. Yeah. There's a junior at Urbandale, Caleb Arroyo, who placed second in his weight class at the state wrestling tournament to a 3-time state champ and Division I recruit. So he's got another year. Congratulations to him. Mr. Mayor, good job on WHO.
Yes.
I thought you represented well.
Thanks.
And appreciate that. There is a Housing Solutions Alliance meeting on March 11. I can report on that. I believe we're going to talk a bit about the rental assistance program that's kind of in the works. Was that in our budget? Are we contributing to that, Polk County?
The research project?
Well, there was the research project, but now I think they're pivoting to actual funding rental assistance. I could be wrong about that.
Well, it's
It's a research project.
the research project, yes. There's
The pilot.
$50,000 in the
pilot
FY
project.
27. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We are. Well, that's
When you said research, I didn't know
subject
if
to
you're talking.
your yes vote on the budget in April, but yes.
What's our level in the budget?
$50,000.
Oh, okay,
That
thank
was
you.
remember, that was the recommendation that came from the Human Services Committee that flowed into the Human Services budget for next fiscal year.
I remember that. I didn't remember the number, and I want to know that if I'm going to walk into a meeting representing Urbandale. So thank you for that. That's all I've got. So I yield back. I don't know.
No, you yield to me now.
Good.
My turn now.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'll just keep it very brief. A couple things. First of all, thanks. I thought I might have ended up on the cutting room floor because I taped that, and then they had a couple of them they did after me that they rolled out before me, so I wasn't sure what was happening. So, but I hope I represented well. Of course, as I said, once you get done, you always think of some other things you want to talk about. But I think it was a good piece. I did listen to the Senate subcommittee hearing at 12:30 today on the property tax bill, on Senator Dawson's version of the property tax bill, and it went an hour and a half as all these subs are going on the property tax bills, and a lot of diverse commentary. My take on it, again, we're waiting to see what happens, but my take on it is, on balance, that's maybe that bill is a little bit more favorable to cities, in balance, and hopefully more of the components of that. And I think just the sheer will of Senator Dawson maybe will win out in the end, as far as mostly the Senate bill may take some precedence over the other two bills, but we'll see. Yeah.
Bob,
So,
what was the number on that one?
3001, is it Senate Study Bill 3000?
I can send it out.
We'll get it to
Okay,
you.
yeah, that'd be great.
We have and there's the league has a good, and I can scan this tomorrow and get it out to everybody. The league has a good summary.
Annika has a better one.
Oh, okay.
I'll send that out.
You do? All right. Good comparison of the three bills too, which is helpful to kind of look at as well, so. I think that's. Representative McBurney had texted me and said he thinks there's maybe an amendment in the works. We're not quite sure what that is yet. I know the league is working some behind the scenes on some things, so we'll see. I haven't checked the floor debate calendar for tomorrow to see if anything's on there.
Yeah,
But
I'm not aware of anything.
we'll keep, obviously the league's very aware of it. Others are very aware of it, so we'll keep a very close eye on that, so.
John and Kristen, were you able to have a chance, probably not, to look at the note I sent about what Larry was looking for? That'd be great, thank you.
Perfect. So that's all I've got. So thank you, everybody, sticking with us.